Hi guys, it's me, HD, and welcome to the race watch along for today's 2021 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. And what a Grand Prix we are in for, especially now that if you are watching the build-up to the race on Sky F1 in the UK or any build-up from any country, you'll know that the rain has hit the track. And at the minute, a lot of the drivers are out on track on full wet tyres. But we have a very interesting situation because the first sector is very wet. The second sector is wet, but not anywhere near as wet as the first sector, and then sector 3 is bone dry, and we might have rain coming later on as well. We are in for such an exciting race. I cannot wait for this. Hopefully you guys will join me and Nib for this Grand Prix today, because again, I think we are in for a real special one with a result that could be really anything, to be honest, today. Hopefully you guys are doing well on this Sunday afternoon. Yeah, hopefully you'll watch along the session with us. Or if you can't watch the session because you're busy doing something, then of course just listen along the session. But yeah, the race today, what a Grand Prix it is going to be. First though, we'll get into the starting grid for the Grand Prix. And of course look at yesterday's qualifying results in case you guys missed it. So Lewis Hamilton will be starting on pole position for Sergio Perez in second. Max Verstappen will be third. Charles Leclerc fourth. Gasly fifth. Ricciardo sixth. Norris seventh. Bottas eighth. Ocon ninth and Stroll in 10th. And then from P11 to P20, you've got Sainz, Russell, Vettel, Latifi, Alonso, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher, and Mazepin and Yuki Tsunoda, of course, at the very back after his crash yesterday. So that is the grid for today's Grand Prix at Imola. But of course, the rain, it really does throw a double six into the mix, and it really does throw up, I guess, our predictions into the air, which we'll get onto later on. But I think we'll first get into the battle for victory today between Mercedes and Red Bull. Mercedes yesterday, I think Lewis Hamilton, he deserved pole because at the end of the day, he was the quickest man and he didn't make any mistakes when Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez did make mistakes, and that's why they ended up not getting the front row when Red Bull really should have. So, shame for them, but that's just the way it is. They made the mistake. But in the Grand Prix today, whether wet or dry, it's going to be very hard to say who is, an absolute definitive winner. It does come down a lot today to, say, pit stops, right tyre choice, again with the rain being in there, the start of the Grand Prix. There's a lot of factors that will play a massive role in deciding victory today, and I can assure you the battle for victory will not be over at the first corner, and it will definitely not be over at the end of the first lap. It's going to be something that ebbs and flows during the Grand Prix, and I think that Lewis Hamilton is the favourite, the slight favourite, because he does have pole position. And, his pole to win record is so good. But again, with the rain in there, Red Bull having the quicker car by, say, a tenth or two, it's, again, very hard to call. But I would say because Verstappen is third and not second, I would say Hamilton is the favourite for this Grand Prix. But again, it's going to be so close. Of course, Sergio Perez, he will play a massive role, I am sure, in deciding who wins the Grand Prix and who doesn't, if he can get into the lead, if he does indeed start on a soft compound tyre, if it's dry enough, that'll play a massive role. But if it's wet, then of course he doesn't have that disadvantage, for later on in his stint. So he actually could end up maybe racing for victory alongside Hamilton and Verstappen. We'll have to see, but again, very, very close to call. And I'll bring Nib in now to talk about the battle for victory. So Nib, first off, how are you doing? And also, secondly, what do you think the biggest factors in this battle for victory between Mercedes and Red Bull, what do you think the biggest factors in deciding who wins is going to be?
Well, as we've been in Discord for about half an hour, as the rain has slowly come in, you know exactly how excited I am now for this Grand Prix. And with the conditions, how they are at the moment, the ultimate factor is it's going to be the person that makes the least amount of mistakes between those drivers up to the front of the field that's going to win the Grand Prix. And we know in these changeable mixed conditions, that is usually Mr. Lewis Hamilton. So I think you still have to put Hamilton as favourite, of course, but it's going to be absolute madness. And whilst we're whilst we just started the stream, Bottas has punctured his left rear tyre, I believe, on his outlap to the grid.
Yeah. Also, you bring that up. We had Fernando, and we've got Lance Stroll. Looks like an engine problem on his way to the grid.
No, it's his rear right brake. His left rear brake was on fire.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, that makes sense now. Yeah, and you can see it on the TV broadcast now. So a bit of drama, and also Fernando Alonso on his way around or to the grid. He crashed at the Tosa hairpin, went on inters in the first sector, where the first sector, it was very wet, too wet really for the intermediate tyre, broke his front wing, came back in, got it replaced and put on some full wet tyres. So he is fine now, but obviously not a great start for him. But I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's going to come down again to mistakes. If it does play out similar to yesterday, though, then again, the advantage has got to be with Lewis Hamilton because, that's not great. They're on the, that's Lance Stroll's car, isn't it? With the burnt through. Oh. That's quite bad.
Well, that's very bad. They're going to have to certainly be replacing the brake.
Yeah, Lance Stroll's brake duct is absolutely done in. But yeah, if it plays out like yesterday, then again, Lewis Hamilton has to be the favourite because when the pressure's on, as we've seen so many times in the last 3 or 4 years, Lewis Hamilton is extremely good at rising to the occasion and also not making mistakes. But Max Verstappen yesterday, when the pressure was really on for him to get pole, he made a critical mistake. The last wet race, of course, we had was in Turkey, where Max Verstappen, despite having probably the quickest car/package out there, he made too many mistakes and ultimately bottled it compared to, Hamilton, Perez, Leclerc, other drivers out there. So I think, yeah, that's going to play a very important role. But whether dry or wet, no matter what, the battle between these three is going to be so intriguing. It is going to be so intriguing because we don't know for sure who is going to win that battle and what is going to happen. When I think in previous years or previous Grand Prix even, you had a good idea of what was going to happen and it would normally happen in the race itself. So cannot wait for the battle for the lead. And also, as I get into the midfield now, cannot wait for the battle there as well, because McLaren and Ferrari, who we'll get into in a second, are looking quick. McLaren 6th and 7th on the grid. Lando Norris, I think, has to be one to watch out for today because Lando was so quick in qualifying, would have qualified 3rd if he did not have his time deleted for a track limit violation. So you've got to look out for him, especially in these conditions coming up in the race in about 20 minutes' time. And then Daniel Ricciardo, again, he's a very good wet weather driver, and I think he will have a decent race, whether wet or dry. I think he'll probably end up finishing somewhere between 5th and 8th place, most likely. I think McLaren's best bet is definitely going to be with Lando Norris for any success because Lando has been so good. But I think McLaren, in these conditions, and of course in the Grand Prix, as a team, they do look the strongest in terms of their grid position. I don't think they have the fastest car in the midfield. I think that goes to Ferrari, but they are looking still very, very strong. So do not count out McLaren for a very good result. And Ferrari as well. This man on screen, Charles Leclerc, with the conditions the way they are, I would not be surprised one bit if he was on the podium and even competed for victory because he was so good in qualifying. The Ferrari car, as we saw in the more aerodynamic parts of the track, was right there with Mercedes and not that far off Red Bull. So Ferrari are without doubt there or thereabouts in these types of conditions, surely. And with Charles Leclerc at the wheel, I'm sure he'll be right up there. So look out for him as well. Carlos Sainz, of course, will be down starting in P11. I think Carlos Sainz as well, another driver who's proven to be good in the wet. I think Carlos definitely can have a good result. And I think Ferrari ultimately have the best midfield car wet or dry. It's still close. Don't get me wrong. It is still close, but I still think wet or dry, Ferrari are the favourites to get probably to spring out of the midfield and up into that top 3 battle. And we'll get in now quickly to some of the other midfield teams. Aston Martin, P10 and P13 for them. Stroll, very good performance by Lance Stroll. Sebastian Vettel, not so good, but at least it was better than Bahrain. In these conditions, I have to say Aston Martin might find it a bit of a struggle because they don't have as much grip as they had last year, but they are at least looking a bit stronger than I thought they would, because I thought they would probably have a quite low down grid position. But I think the race really for them is going to be between 9th and probably 13th, 14th, and it is going to be quite a struggle for the Aston Martin team. Hopefully, though, I am proved wrong. With AlphaTauri, Pierre Gasly, of course, has been great so far this season and has been for about a year or so. And I think he is definitely another one to watch out for. Of course, starts in P5. So also look out for him alongside Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, and other drivers who are very good in the wet, such as Carlos Sainz, Alonso, Vettel, Stroll even. So I think with him, I think I could see a good result. But Yuki Tsunoda at the back, it will still be hard for him to score points, but in these conditions, his chances have been massively increased because I am expecting to see a few spins, a few overtakes on the first lap, and a few more overtakes during the race in general because of the conditions, and a few more retirements as well. So I think his chances have been massively increased, and I can say that just watching the footage quickly, it is still raining. Maybe not to the same intensity, but it is still raining on track, if you guys were wondering. Let's get into the last couple midfield teams. Alpine, looking better, at least with Esteban Ocon, but Alonso down in 15th and having that crash on the way to the grid. That wouldn't have been great for him, of course, but I think Alpine, these conditions represent a chance for them because their car, their strongest point is probably the aero, and even that's not that good. And with the drivers they have, you'd expect them to at least compete for points. So this is a chance for them because I don't think they'll be getting too many chances to finish in the points this season, even though, of course, they have had 2 consecutive top 10 starting positions for Alpine on the grid so far this season. They got Alfa Romeo back in 16th and 17th. We'll see what they can do, but I thought qualifying yesterday was shocking. And I know Antonio Giovinazzi was held up massively by Nikita Mazepin, but I thought their performance, again, in qualifying was quite poor compared to what I thought they would have been doing. I was hoping they'd be around Aston Martin, but just never happened, and they were just, again, way, way too slow. Again, we'll see what they can do. But also for Williams, with it being a wet race, represents a big chance for them because if Russell, starting P12, of course, can produce another great drive like he does so many times, and luck plays in his favour for once, then Williams might get their first points finish in, almost 2 years. So hopefully Williams can at least put in a decent performance today at Imola. Nib, for the midfield, like we said in Bahrain, it's very hard to call. But who would you say are your top 3 drivers to look out for in these conditions?
I think at the top of the pile probably has to be Lando Norris. He's an extremely, extremely good driver in the wet. In F2 at Hungary, of course, in his one and only F2 season, he had an absolutely absurd drive. I can't remember like the positions and everything where he come from, but he had an absurd drive there. So I really think Lando Norris is going to be strong. As I was laughing a little bit just before because people at Ravazza 1 were climbing on their rooftops when it's raining.
Yeah, I saw that.
Try and see what's going on. So that's quite dangerous. But yeah, it's looking a little bit drier at Tamburello, it must be said. But it's still pretty wet. But for the midfield, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? It's just who can keep it clean, who can avoid the chaos. And you typically say Fernando Alonso would be pretty all right in these conditions, but he's already gone off at Tosa. So I don't know. I don't know who's going to do well. I think Lando Norris is probably going to do pretty well. The top three are all very good in the wet, but then outside of that, probably Norris is to watch out for.
Yeah, and that's absolutely bang on because this weekend he has been just so good. Now, let me just move on quickly to some of these pictures. Now, we're going to get into, with just under 15 minutes to go, we're going to get into, I think, some of our predictions for this Grand Prix. Now, we're not going to do a top 10 because I don't think we're really able or in a position to give an actual educated answer for that. But we will give a top 5 prediction for the Grand Prix. So, Nib, I'll let you go first.
Oh, you put the pressure on me first. Jeez, okay. I think that Max Verstappen is going to win the Grand Prix. Followed by Sergio Perez in second. Then Lewis Hamilton in third. I don't know. I have no idea. I pulled 3 names out of the hat and put them there in random order. I don't know. The podium really could be anything, especially if the rain gets worse. I mean, for crying out loud, we saw Ricciardo on the podium here last season, so really anything can happen. And with these mixed conditions, especially, anything can happen at a circuit that is so punishing for making a mistake.
You're not willing to predict 4th and 5th as well?
Nope, I haven't a clue.
No, okay.
Get the top 3.
I'm going to go Hamilton to win, and then second Max Verstappen, third Sergio Perez, and then fourth Lando Norris, and then fifth. You know what, fifth, I'm going to go for a surprise. I'm going to go for Lance Stroll fifth, because in wet conditions, he's actually proven himself to be a really good driver. And this season, I think he's been really strong. Not made a mistake. Got the best out of the car. 2 top 10 starting positions. I mean, that car's not really capable of that generally. So it really has come down to him being so good. Yeah, I'm going to go Lance Stroll for 5th place. That's a big call, but I'm going to go for it because I think he's someone who, you know, with his legendary great starts and good race pace, I think he could absolutely, on a day like this, end up getting a shock result. And what a result that would be for the Aston Martin team. But guys, in the live chat, make sure to let us know what your predictions are with just over 10 minutes to go until the Grand Prix. Who is winning the race, in your opinion? Who will be on the podium? Of course, 2nd and 3rd. Who will be in 4th and 5th as well, as I think the sunshine is briefly coming out at Imola, I think. Yeah, let us know what you are going to go for a prediction. And you can go as crazy as you want, because in these conditions, again, you just don't know what is possible. We've seen many mental things happen. I mean, I think the last wet watch-along we did was Hockenheim in 2019, and of course we had Daniel Kvyat finishing 3rd and Vettel on the podium, even though he started at the very back. So really, again, anything can happen, so I don't mind, again, the wacky predictions. So let's get into some of them now if I can. Crystal Racing says, Kimi Raikkonen scored valuable points in P5 with Alpha Strategic Masterclass. Gina says, watch out for Gasly. Anna says, would be nice for Gasly to get on the podium after going out early in November. Corey says, for his top 6, he's going Hamilton, Verstappen, Gasly, Perez, Bottas, Vettel. Astro Stevo is going Perez to win. Hamilton 2nd, Ricciardo 3rd, Leclerc 4th, Norris 5th. That is one thing, Nib, we haven't discussed, is Valtteri Bottas. Of course, he was really poor yesterday. What do you think he can do in this race? Say 5th place at best? Or do you think he can get a podium from where he is on the grid?
Well, the last wet race he had, I don't think things went exactly to plan, did they, at Turkey? No. Well, he spun 6 times. That was a little bit because he had some wing damage. and well, sorry, not wing damage. He had some floor damage after his contact with Ricardo, I believe it was. As Adrian Newey's having a good little snoop around on the live feed at the moment. But yeah, a terrible qualifying by Bottas, and at a circuit that is so difficult to overtake. Perhaps it might help him with it being wet a little bit, but he's not known to be the best driver in the wet, so I don't know really what to expect from Bottas. But one thing's for certain, he certainly needs to improve from P8, as they're still doing some work on that rear right brake of Lance Stroll's.
Yep, they are, and they've got only what? I mean, my timer is not exactly lined up to when the formation lap will be getting underway, but they've got 10 minutes, I'd say, at most, to get that done.
Well, 3 minutes. It's going to be 3 minutes before.
So probably 5 minutes then. Yeah.
So they've got 7 minutes to do it.
Right. So, well, we'll see. They haven't actually got the actual replacement on yet, from what I could see. So they need to work very quickly. Do the boys at Aston Martin? Well, let me look at some other predictions in the chat. Jabalani says, I must admit that based on yesterday's qualifying, Red Bull is hot and favourites, but weather will be a factor today. But he goes for Verstappen P1, Hamilton P2, and Bottas P3. You got Max Hammond Bot in the chat. Crystal Racing says Max to win from Perez, then Leclerc, Gasly, Kimi, Norris, Bottas, Stroll, Sainz, and Russell. What a top 10 that would be. Renars Clavin says Verstappen, in his opinion, to win from Bottas, Hamilton, Norris, Stroll, Leclerc, Sainz, Ricardo, Ocon, Gasly is the top 10 he is going for. Crystal Racing also saying Latifi is awful in the wet, we can rule him out. Well, yeah, in the 2 wet races we had last year, even though in the first one he was very unlucky because, he wasn't unlucky, it was more his team's fault. He got released into the path of Carlos Sainz in Hungary and then got a puncture and then ended up, I think, 3 or 4 laps down when everyone else was at worst a lap down. And then, yeah, Turkey, he was literally nowhere on pace. He was at a different Grand Prix. He was that slow. So, yeah. Even though saying that, this weekend's probably the first weekend of his Formula 1 career where he's actually looked on par with George Russell. So, you never know. Could see something different. Gina goes Hamilton, Gasly, Leclerc for his prediction. We've got another one for Verstappen, Hamilton, Perez. Astro Steve posting something interesting in the chat, Nib, saying, this is from the BBC, some work going on the car of Lewis Hamilton as well. The mechanics aren't as panicky as the Aston Martin ones want to monitor. Don't know what that's about. But
I've not seen anything on Twitter about Lewis Hamilton.
Well, apparently that's from, I'm guessing that's on the BBC Live text coverage or something. Maybe we'll see something about that when they come back from an ad break, which they should do in a minute. Let me see if there's any others that I've missed in the chat. Dennis saying Perez will take out Max and Lewis in the first corner. Leclerc wins. I can't see at the minute any more predictions that need reading out. But if you do have a prediction for the race, then make sure to post it, because of course race is underway very, very shortly. And yes, it says 5.5 minutes, but again, I can't sync it up exactly to when the formation lap will be getting underway. So, and we normally do start about a minute before the stream is actually scheduled to start. So, yeah, I'll get rid of that timer in a few minutes' time. Yeah, with someone was saying, I just saw in the chat, with the conditions being as they are, Sebastian Vettel should come to the fore in this race. Do you expect probably the first proper good performance of the season from him, Nib, in these conditions?
Yeah, I'd expect Vettel to do pretty well. He's got so much experience. He should be able to keep out of trouble, and keep things on track. So yeah, I think Vettel will certainly move up.
Yeah, and as well, even if it was dry, I'd expect it to move up because he again starts on whatever tyre he wants to, and that would have been a big advantage for him. Anyway, as on Sky F1, they're just showing the history between Verstappen and Hamilton, because this is basically going to be the, I guess, the storyline for the season that the media will push. And hopefully we get to see the actual storyline on track as well. Of course, Hamilton won the last Grand Prix, the first Grand Prix of the season in Bahrain, in controversial circumstances, but I think he was right to win in the end, but was still controversial with, Verstappen passing off track, Hamilton doing his track limit violations. By the way, let me read some other comments here. What's the weather condition? Is it raining? Well, we don't know right now because they're currently doing the F1 intro on the broadcast, so I can't tell you right now exactly what the weather conditions are, but I'm sure there is still wet. I'm sure the first sector is still wet, and it's probably still raining, maybe not to the same intensity, but I think it is still raining out there. Dan says, I can see a Perez win, not gonna lie. If Perez wins this race, I mean, that might actually throw a spanner into, like I was saying a minute ago, with the storyline of Hamilton versus Verstappen, because if Red Bull, let's say for this season, have the quicker car, and Perez can be up there regularly and, take points off of one of them a few times, he could play a massive role this season. I'm not going to say, though, that he's going to be able to do that, because it is only, this Grand Prix weekend where he's been able to be up there. Of course, Bahrain wasn't really his fault. He tried to get through on mediums in qualifying, failed to do so. And then in the race, had reliability problems, started from the back, still got P5. But I think in this Grand Prix, when it comes to Perez this season, I think we'll see what role Sergio Perez can play in any championship battle between Hamilton and Verstappen. As I'm sure in a minute we'll see what the weather conditions are going to be in a moment. But Nib, for Perez, if Perez puts in a statement performance, let's say Sergio Perez wins the race, probably won't happen, but let's say he does. I know it's early to say, but does Perez then put himself possibly in title contention if Red Bull have that quick of a car?
Well, it would be 2 races into the season. I think we need to settle down a little bit with that talk.
Yeah, well, we can dream. Well, I can dream when it comes to that. As they're currently showing the grid, I think, I'm going to get rid of the timer and get rid of the other things and get the graphics ready for you guys. So that sidebar order you can see on the screen. That is the starting grid, and get up the lap counter as well. So the grid, I'll read it out in just a moment. Let me just move this down a bit. So the starting grid is, again, Lewis Hamilton starting on pole position, Sergio Perez second, Max Verstappen third, Charles Leclerc fourth. There's now Sebastian Vettel's in the pits, starting from the pit lane. Any idea why?
Well, I assume they've also had some issue with the brakes.
Yeah, well, that's such a shame if that's the case. I'll need to update the order already. So Hamilton.
Okay, so they did. Okay, Chaz, we've got the reason they didn't have the wheels on with 5 minutes to start, so that's why.
Oh.
And all drivers are on the intermediates except for Gasly, Ocon, Mazepin, and Schumacher, who are on the full wets.
Right. So could see. Well, those drivers who've gone for full wets, they're either going to be heroes, or they're going to be absolute at the back of the grid after probably a lap and miles off the pace. So we'll see what they can do. But let me just update the order quickly. But yeah, it's Hamilton from Perez, Verstappen, Leclerc, Gasly, Ricciardo, Norris, Bottas, Ocon, and Stroll. That's the top 10. And then Sainz, Russell, Latifi, Alonso, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher, Nikita Mazepin, and then it'll be Tsunoda 19th and Vettel 20th. As Nib said, the only drivers on wet tyres, Gasly, Ocon, and I think the 2 Haas drivers, like you said, of Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin. So, the formation lap is underway in just a moment, and it is underway right now. So formation lap is underway at Imola. Thankfully, we're going to get a standing start and not a safety car start because sometimes when it rains, the FIA like to be very careful and safe, but thankfully, they're not going to be that safe when it comes to this. And yeah, definitely first sector a lot wetter than the grid, but not as wet. Still pretty wet though, Nib, but not as wet as it was half an hour ago, is it?
Yeah, certainly not as wet. I mean, oh Jesus, Hamilton's gone past and you can barely see Verstappen. I mean, it's certainly not as wet as what it was. There were some rivers forming along the track, just out of the chicane first up. So yeah, things have certainly dried up a little bit, but that does certainly not mean it's going to be dry.
No, I think could have some showers also during the race, so this might end up being maybe not an entirely wet race, but a wet race for a good portion as well. The temperature is not very high at Imola, so it's not exactly going to dry out very, very quickly. As Charles Leclerc's spun off into the gravel trap. Charles Leclerc is off. Can he get going again? Yes, he can, and he should be able to retake his position, but he's so lucky to get away with that.
Lucky boy.
Very lucky, because he could have ended up in the barriers then, and he will be able to retake his grid position because you only go to the back if you fall to the back and got on the curb, didn't he? And the white line, and that's what spun him round.
Oh, yeah, he got on that white line, and as a Mark Webber fan, you don't want to be doing that, because otherwise you spin out and crash and ruin your championship hopes. So yeah, you need to be staying off of the curbs, off of the white lines, and yeah, geez, that was very lucky for Charles that he got going again.
Yeah, because that could have ended up him in the barriers, and actually that's very reminiscent, and I had a bit of a flashback there. So I've seen this old race before. Another wet race that we had at Imola back in 91 where Alain Prost spun off and retired before or on the formation lap. Very similar to that, and thankfully didn't suffer the same fate. But we are about to start what is going to be a very, very exciting Grand Prix at Imola. Can Red Bull, after not getting pole, can they, now in the race, take on Hamilton and beat him and get their first win of the season, and their first win also at Imola? Sebastian Vettel there starting from the pit lane. What can Charles Leclerc do? Can he get his Ferrari's first win in 18 months? Can McLaren get up there? We'll see. In the next 60...
Vettel has a brake-by-wire failure in the pit lane.
Right, okay, so brake-by-wire for him as 63 laps are about to get underway at Imola. And here we go. The lights are on. It's 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5 lights at Imola. And lights out, and away we go. And Max Verstappen has got a phenomenal start. He's going to go to the inside of Lewis Hamilton. And Max Verstappen, I think, leads the Grand Prix at Imola. Does he? Yes, Hamilton's going to go right around the outside, and it's bumped off the track, and he goes over the sausage curb, and I think he's damaged his floor. Perez will try to go round the outside, and Hamilton can't...
His plate's broken.
Yeah, his car is definitely damaged, and I can't see any of the cars behind, so I can't tell you what's going on with those. I know Charles Leclerc's up in 4th, and we've got a McLaren in 5th place, but Hamilton tried to go around the outside, but Verstappen was having none of it, as we've got Carlos Sainz with a good start. Bottas has not had that good of a start, and Verstappen already pulling a massive gap over Hamilton. And so what did you say was damaged again? The floor?
Well, I assume he'd had some floor damage, but his left-hand side end plate is flapping around a bit, and Ricardo's had a very good start. He's moved himself up to 5th as well. And Sainz, having a look there at Pierre Gasly, where is Charles Leclerc? Oh, sorry, Charles Leclerc still in 4th. Oh, Sainz has nearly hit the back of Pierre Gasly there at Acura Mineiro. And is that George Russell?
No, that's
Nicholas
Latifi.
It's Latifi. Sorry, I've done a crofty. It can happen in the wet. Or as Lance Stroll has forced Carlos Sainz to cut the corner there at the chicane, and this is chaos, Chazza.
It absolutely is. As, by the way, Leclerc has passed Perez. We haven't seen it. Safety car, and yet Latifi is out of the race. He's crashed on the way to the Variante Alta, the last chicane on the track. So he is out of the race, is Latifi, which is a shame for him. I mean, Crystal Racing said it in the chat. He's not very good in the wet, and well, he's proven it there. And simply, he squeezed. Oh, that was a bad crash. But he squeezed the Haas there, and that was really his own fault as to why he ended up in the barriers. As, yeah, safety car is out. As Esteban Ocon, I think, has pitted from wet tyres to inters. And yes, he has. So Ocon in the pit lane. But yep, safety car out on lap 2. It was always really going to happen. But I'm just going to update the order now as best I can. So it's Verstappen leading from Hamilton 2nd. Leclerc 3rd. Sergio Perez down to 4th. Disappointing for him. Daniel Ricciardo, as you said, Nib. What a start for him. I mean, it's only 1 position gained, but we didn't expect him to be making moves like that. And then you've got Gasly, I think, who is still on wet tyres in 6th place. And then you've got Lance Stroll, who I said was going to be in for a good race today, and he's up to 7th place already from 10th on the grid. You've got Carlos Sainz in 8th. We're probably going to have a safety car, I'd imagine, for another lap or two, looking or judging by Latifi's car. And then, yeah, you got Sainz in 8th. I'll let you take us from the start, Nib.
Yeah, that was an absolute massive crash by Latifi, but what a rocket ship start Max Verstappen has had there. He's nearly jumped Perez after about 50 metres, and then the second phase of the start, he's gone up the inside of Hamilton into turn 1, and yeah, that is... Or actually, I mean, you're not going side by side through there in the wet, that's for sure. I think a little bit ambitious to expect Verstappen to give him room there, but I'll tell you what, if Lewis Hamilton was in Max Verstappen's shoes, he'd be doing the exact same thing, because we do know that Hamilton loves a good old squeeze out. But they were alongside, but I mean, it's kind of got to be expected.
Looking for Verstappen's on board, and we'll see from Hamilton's on board. Let's see. That's hard to call. I'm gonna have to. That's one you have to look back on after the race. That's very hard to call. I could absolutely see why Hamilton fans would be angry with that, but contact wasn't made, and like you said, very ambitious to be going around the outside in the wet.
There was contact with Hamilton's front wing,
and yeah, you can see it.
His end fences there.
Yeah, see it on the replay. So he'll have to. Unless he can somehow get away with that, which I don't think he will. He'll have to pit for that. Here's a replay of how Leclerc passed Perez on the exit of the last chicane. And Perez simply, no grip on the exit. And Leclerc just goes past. So, good move for Leclerc. But Perez really having quite a shocker of a start. And here's a replay of Latifi. So, that's the interesting thing. Latifi spun off, got back on track, and then had a massive crash with, I think, Mazepin. Let's see.
Mazepin, yeah.
Yeah, and it was Latifi's fault. He didn't know he was there. He squeezed him, and then he was the one putting the wall.
That's a big crash.
It is a big crash indeed, and we'll see from Mazepin's point of view. And Mazepin, yeah, nothing really he could do. Latifi simply just didn't see him, and I think was just concentrating on himself as they're just taking the Williams car away now. So I imagine would be underway on lap or the end of lap 4. Still, though, trying to do some of the orders. So Bottas, by the way, poor start, down to P10. But it is, again, Verstappen from Hamilton, Leclerc, Perez, Ricciardo, Gasly, Stroll, Sainz, Norris, and Bottas. That is your top 10. And then Russell is 11th. Kimi Räikkönen, what a start for him, up to 12th position. And then Giovinazzi as well, great start by him, up 4 positions into 13th. Yuki Tsunoda, what a start by him, from 19th, the very back of the starting grid, up to 14th place. And then you've got Mick Schumacher in 15th. Alonso and Vettel fighting, not currently, but they will be fighting tooth and nail over 16th and 17th place. And then Mazepin is in 18th. And then 19th is Ocon, who has pitted for a set of intermediate tyres. And then at the very back, at the minute, we've got Sebastian Vettel into the pits. Who's that crash? Mick Schumacher has crashed on the pit straight on his set of wet tyres. He's broken his front wing and his race is essentially over. I mean, the safety car's still out and he'll be able to come back in and join the back of the pack. But after making a good start, he's just gone and blown it, Nib.
Oh, that's not a good one by Mick. You just need to avoid making mistakes in these sort of races, and that's exactly what Mick has done. He's made a mistake that absolutely destroyed that front wing. I'm sure we'll get a replay shortly, but geez, what a start this has been. Hopefully we can get underway shortly, but I mean, they're going to have to clear Schumacher's front wing as race control. Pit lane entry closed because, of course, there's a front wing on the pit lane exit. So, yet no one can come into the pits. Geez, he's had a hefty impact into the wall there, has Mick Schumacher, as we're about to see a replay now. So he's warming his tyres up at the back here. Oh, and he's just completely lost it. As the marshals are right at the edge of the track. They just got back behind the wall in time, trying to warm up his tyres a bit too aggressively in these wet conditions. And he spun into the wall, and that is a very rookie mistake.
Yeah, that is a classic rookie mistake, I have to say. And this will probably keep the safety car out for another lap or two, I'd say. But yeah, that's not good, of course, for Mick, and has been actually passed by Vettel, who, of course, pitted as they're taking Latifi's car away finally. But yeah, very disappointing again, considering he made a pretty good start. He was up to 15th place, ahead of Alonso, Vettel, Ocon. And you'd assume, with the talent he has and the car he has, that his chances are much better of actually just racing other cars, never mind possibly getting a good result. So, very disappointing for him. But there you go. And let me just update the lap counter. By the way, just to remind you guys, with the lap counter, please do remember I am doing it manually, so if it's not updated absolutely to the exact moment, then do bear with me. I will update it as many times as I can, and I will update it as soon as I can, most importantly. But yeah, we're currently on lap 5 out of 63, and because the pit entry's closed now, he can't pit. He can't pit, so he can't continue. That's even worse. Oh my. I completely forgot about that. He can't pit because of his own damage on the exit of the pit lane, as it is still raining. You can see that on the helicopter cam on the TV broadcast. But yeah, that's hopefully they can clear that damage away.
Red Bull's just gone off. Red Bull's just gone off in the gravel.
Yeah.
Perez, I think it was.
And yeah, hold on a minute, because Ricciardo and Gasly said they passed him, and now Perez has repassed them.
And then Perez went back in front. That's exactly what happened.
Well, I'm not sure Perez is allowed to do that, so I think Perez might get a penalty. Because if someone goes off track during the safety car, you are allowed to overtake them, and he did, like you said. Yeah. And we'll see.
Yeah, Piratella.
Yeah, Perez is going to get a penalty for that. Ricciardo and Gasly passed him. He's going to get a penalty for that, and he absolutely should. passing Ricciardo and Gasly under safety car conditions.
Or race control will just tell Red Bull to tell Perez and Red Bull to let them both back through.
Yeah, well,
and here we go, race control. A pit lane entry open.
Yeah.
So Schumacher can pit.
Thankfully, yeah. Yeah, that'd be the best thing if they could just get Perez to let those two through. But if Red Bull or Perez are not going to do that, then they've got to be penalised for that, because that is a clear rule. I think you'll remember, Nib, I think the last time maybe any controversy with that happened, you remember Hamilton and Trulli at Melbourne in 2009, where I think... well, it's a long time ago. But I think Trulli went off the track the final corner. Hamilton passed him, and then there was a bit of a to-do over who should be ahead. And then
I do remember that.
It was that whole was it Hamilton lying to the stewards controversy? It was that.
Yeah.
So hopefully we don't get anything controversial from that. As Mick Schumacher, by the way, for all you Mick fans out there, has pitted finally. His pain is over, and we'll put on a new front wing. Won't be able to catch up the back of the pack though, as the safety car is in at the end of this lap, thankfully. At the end of lap 6. And about to be, of course, lap 7. They've only still just about got the front wing on, so he's barely going to even get anywhere near the back of the pack, as Verstappen comes into the middle part of the lap. And I'm expecting definitely a close fight from now on between Verstappen and Hamilton, only though if Lewis Hamilton's damage does not affect him so much. That damage probably would affect him a lot more in the dry, so in the wet he might get away with it and still get a good result with that, but we'll have to see what will happen in just a moment, as the safety car is going to pull into the pits in a moment. Verstappen now becomes the safety car. Remember, they cannot pass until the start-finish line. So Verstappen can hold him up as long as he wants, and he did do that in Bahrain to avoid the other teams getting a massive slipstream on him. But in the wet, that's not as important a thing, because getting the power down firstly is pretty hard, as Verstappen, I think, is now going for it. Yes, he is. Max Verstappen leads the pack away. Hamilton will get in the slipstream. Can Lewis Hamilton have another go back? I think he will. Hamilton gets in the slipstream. He'll pull around the outside. Can Lewis Hamilton get the lead back? He won't go around the outside again, though. He knows that's not going to work on Max Verstappen after what happened earlier. As everyone gets through, it looks as though just about okay, and everyone is just about in formation. Ocon, though, has just passed Nikita Mazepin for 16th place, as Charles Leclerc is right behind Hamilton. Is he going to go for it down the inside? Hamilton had the grippier, wet line around the outside, so that's allowed him to keep ahead. But I'm sure Leclerc, Nib, will be very hungry to get past a wounded Lewis Hamilton at this point.
Yeah, Leclerc is looking very, very racy, and under the safety car, Lewis was complaining that he couldn't keep temperature in his rear tyres, as Carlos Sainz has managed to get his way past. Yeah, Gasly, somewhere behind these lot.
And also Lance Stroll as well. So
yeah, Lance Stroll and Norris down to 9th.
And Gasly has actually got back ahead of Sainz. Now Sainz has got back ahead, so there were wheel to wheel. We didn't get to see it, but Sainz is ahead. Remember, Gasly is still on the wet tyre. That's why Gasly's being passed there.
Chazza, look at the lead Verstappen has pulled on this lap. Hamilton is struggling majorly.
Yep, he is. He's now on lap 8. Max Verstappen, 3.3 seconds clear of Lewis Hamilton. What a lap. The first lap out of the safety car. And as we've got, because Gasly's on wet tyres, he's under threat from everyone now. And Norris has gone from 9th. Has he gone from 9th up to 6th? I don't think he has. No, Gasly keeps the position. Look at these cars. They're all wheel to wheel. Norris has pulled off an amazing couple overtakes because he was in 9th place. And now he's up a lot more where he should be. And yeah, Gasly has to pit from these wet tyres because as they're noting the FIA, the Hamilton-Verstappen incident. But Gasly has to pit. Those wet tyres are gone. They're done. He has to pit.
Well, you can see here through the first sector, Gasly is flying. He's pulling away from Lando Norris. But then once they get through Piratella and all of that, they just start to die because, of course, the track is so dry through the Ravazzas. As we're on board here with Lando Norris, as he got past Lance Stroll, who had quite a bad last Ravazza, as he's in the slipstream of Pierre Gasly. I'm not too sure how he actually hasn't got ahead of him here. To be honest, it looks like he should have been able to get ahead of him, but somehow Gasly kept it up the inside.
As, well, for some reason, Fernando Alonso dropped down the order and went back up again, so I don't know what that was about. Maybe an issue with the transponder there. As, the order now on lap 9 out of 63, it is Verstappen leading from Hamilton. Don't know what the gap is. Verstappen has done another new fastest lap. Don't know what the gap is. 4.8 seconds, so Verstappen a second and a half quicker on that lap. Well, if he keeps up that pace, he'll win this race easily. As Lando Norris now will pass Pierre Gasly up to 6th. Lando gets the move done, but will Pierre come back at him? I don't think he will. As long as Lando can stay ahead until the exit of Tosa, the hairpin at turn 7, I believe, then Norris will... And yeah, he is now easily pulling away from Gasly. Gasly has to pit. He's now even struggling in the first sector compared to Norris. And now Carlos Sainz will be all over him. Such a shame for Gasly, but the gamble to go on wet tyres simply has failed him. As they're just showing a replay of Norris passing him, and I think Carlos Sainz, is he having a go? Yes, he is, up to turn 9, and Carlos Sainz should get that move done, and he does. So Carlos Sainz now up to P7, having a good race so far as Sainz, despite going off the track on lap 1. And yeah, Gasly surely will pit at the end of this lap, as the next car to dispose of him will be Lance Stroll and then Valtteri Bottas as well. As at the minute, it's kind of stabilised out there. The closest gap is Fernando Alonso right behind Yuki Tsunoda, which we're not seeing, as Verstappen, another new fastest lap. That time, though, only about 5 or 6 tenths quicker. As Perez says, the steering wheel's moving by itself, and then Red Bull saying they'll look into it, which is interesting. But, well, Verstappen at this speed, Nib, he's got the race to himself now.
I thought you were about to say he's got the race won by Chazza. It's like 10, settle down. But yeah, he certainly got things where he'd like them at the moment with a pretty sizable lead. As Lance Stroll in the slipstream of Pierre Gasly down into the Tamburello chicane. Is he going to go around the outside? He goes over the yellow sausage curbs. That's not going to be nice. As Gasly goes around the outside at Tamburello, and he should stay ahead into the Villeneuve chicane, and indeed he does, as there's no investigation necessary for the first lap contact between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen.
Yeah, and that's absolutely obvious. As Ocon has passed Alonso, so Alonso has had some sort of problem there, because Alonso was right behind Yuki Tsunoda. So Ocon up past his teammate Alpine, down in 15th and 16th place on lap 10 out of 16. Alonso now being a Stroll. The transponders and the tech at the track is not working as well as it should be, because everyone's moving up and down and they're not actually moving position. As Lewis Hamilton now on lap 11 does a new fastest lap, Nib. Oh, and that's Carlos Sainz off the track, but he has such a big gap behind him, he will stay in 7th place.
Yeah, he's lost at Ravazza 2 there. Yeah, he's still comfortably ahead of Pierre Gasly, because Pierre Gasly is that slow, and it's quite interesting to note that Lando Norris is really starting to catch Daniel Ricciardo and is now within a second of his teammate.
He absolutely is. A Stroll has now, I believe, passed Pierre Gasly for position. Here's a replay of Sainz, and literally just goes straight on. Probably carried too much speed into the corner, and luckily for him, He gets away with it because Gasly was 6 seconds behind him. And now here's a replay of Stroll. Well, he passed Gasly, but I'm not sure that's an entirely legal overtake, but it's an overtake.
Oh my God.
As Stroll is now pulling away from Gasly, who now has Bottas, Russell, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi. Norris is right behind Ricciardo, and I think briefly overtook him as Max Verstappen does a fastest lap. But I think Lewis Hamilton is about to do a fastest lap as well. He does. So Hamilton now re-catching Verstappen. So that damage is not affecting his car at the moment. And Perez, under investigation for overtaking under the safety car. We said it, and he will get a penalty for that, no doubt about it. As Norris, you can see now on the mini screen, is within a second of Daniel Ricciardo and desperately trying to get past, and nowhere near close enough at the minute. But Gasly now down to 9th, and Gasly, well, he's not going to come into the pits, but he will get passed by Valtteri Bottas on what is basically a bone-dry part of the track. And then they come down to turn 1, which is very much wet. Bottas gets through. He's been a bit wide, but that was okay. And Gasly down to P10. And why are they not pitting him? And Perez, look at that, 10-second penalty, which would put him back down in 7th place at the minute. But
it's a 10-second stop-go penalty, Chazza.
Oh, that's even worse. It says 10-second time penalty.
Have they? Okay, well, they initially put a 10-second stop-go penalty, and then the second message was a 10-second time penalty.
Right.
So I assume it's the latter.
Yeah. Clear to see. We saw it at the time, and I mean, it's an easy mistake to make when you've just gone off the track and you're panicking to get back on track. But, absolutely, he was guilty of that. And as soon as I say Max Verstappen's got this race to himself, Lewis Hamilton is now catching him 2 or 3 tenths of a second per lap and is the quickest man on track, as Gasly now has a gaggle of cars behind him of Russell, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Tsunoda, Ocon, Vettel, Alonso, all queuing up to dispose Gasly and make his day even more miserable. As Russell and Gasly, he must be hoping for a safety car, Gasly, because I don't see why he is remaining out there. He's getting eaten up by everyone. And here comes Russell into P10. Surely Russell around the outside, and Russell, as it stands, is in a points-paying position on lap 13 out of 63. And Gasly now massively under pressure from Raikkonen, who just goes clean round the outside. I've got a yellow flag in sector 2. Don't know who that was, as Mazepin is pitting in the Haas. But Russell is up to 10th. Giovinazzi will now pass Pierre Gasly, I believe. And Gasly, surely Nib, he's got to pit. He's losing so much lap time.
Well, at this stage, you'd assume that they're just sticking him out here, hoping that it's rain. It's gonna rain more, as his teammate is about to go up the inside of him at Piratella. Or is he? Gasly's trying to hang it around the outside at Piratella. That would be some move. But there we go. He's got the move done as Ocon. I believe it was Ocon behind Gasly. Indeed, it was trying to make a move at Ascoli Minerali, but not quite close enough to be able to do that.
Sebastian Vettel going down the inside of Esteban Ocon at the Variante Alta chicane. What a move that was by Vettel. Great move. Very tight part of the track. You rarely see an overtake there. What a move by Sebastian Vettel. Let me just update the lap counter quickly onto lap 14 out of 63. Vettel up to 15th and now right behind as... what were you oaring at?
Vettel went quite deep at the first Ravazzo, and I thought he was going to go into the gravel, but he just about managed to keep it on track.
He did, and now he's going to have a go around the outside of Pierre Gasly, and he gets the move done. And Alonso and Ocon also going wheel to wheel. Gasly now essentially a back marker yet again, like he was in Bahrain. It's due to a mistake in Bahrain, and here it's due to another mistake. This time, the tyres he's on is Max Verstappen now on lap 15. extends the gap out to 5 seconds. Another new fastest lap, a 1 minute 27.7 in the wet conditions. And it doesn't look like it's going to be drying up really anytime soon for dry tyres, judging by the first sector. Here's a replay, and I guess this is what the yellow flag was for. And Sainz locked the outside front at Tosa, and he is so lucky that he got away with that. So lucky. And I think I think he's still in 7th place despite having an almighty moment. Yeah, that's a very lucky moment there for him, because he has had 2 big moments where he should have been punished both times very heavily, but he has not been. As just seen a replay there of earlier of Tsunoda and Gasly. Yeah, Gasly now down to 15th. Next cars to overtake him are going to be Ocon and Alonso, who are right behind him. And yes, finally, AlphaTauri will pit Pierre Gasly and end his misery. So let's update that quickly. Interesting to note, Sergio Perez, his pace is really poor. He is, as Verstappen does another fastest lap now on lap 16, and is, well, Hamilton actually, will he do a fastest lap? They're very much equal on this lap, as the two McLarens lap a car there. I think Verstappen was only slightly quicker on that lap compared to Lewis Hamilton, but Perez is already, what, a pit stop behind Verstappen?
He's 26 seconds off.
Yeah, he is very, very slow. So he is, he's 11 seconds ahead of Ricciardo. I mean, that's going to help with his race result later on, obviously. But he is nowhere compared to Leclerc. And Leclerc, nowhere compared to Hamilton and Verstappen, but you'd kind of expect that. But very worrying pace from Sergio Perez. But let me just update that Ocon is up to 15th. And then Alonso, 16th. Alpine have had a very bad Sunday Grand Prix so far. And Mick Schumacher now up to 17th. Gasly has come out on Inters this time in 18th place. I'm expecting Gasly now to be really quick, but he's a pit stop behind Alonso, who he was just in front of. So really, yet again, just like in Bahrain, he's basically out of the race. Unless we get safety car or more chaos later on. As Verstappen on lap 17 does another fastest lap. Now Lewis Hamilton does a fastest lap and goes slightly quicker on a 1 minute 26.5. So it is basically dead equal out front on pure speed. As we're now onto lap 17 out of 63. Would you say Norris needs to be moved ahead here of Ricciardo?
I think if I was McLaren, I would be moving Lando Norris ahead of Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, I think Ricciardo is driving well considering what he was doing earlier this weekend, but I think Norris is clearly quicker. And I think, honestly, if we had a DRS, is not enabled, is it? No. So if Norris had DRS, I think you'd already be over, or would have passed him, and probably be after Sergio Perez. And here we go. So we'll see, hopefully, in a moment. If Ricciardo is going to let him through, it'll probably be on this lap. But we've got, lap 17, Verstappen, 5.5 seconds clear of Hamilton. Verstappen actually much quicker on this lap compared to Hamilton. Leclerc is 15 seconds behind Hamilton and a further 6 behind Verstappen. So Leclerc is out of contention for victory, but at the minute it looks as though he could get a podium. Saying that, Perez, as Norris has been let through, like I said, by Daniel Ricciardo. Had to happen. Norris clearly quicker, now can get after Perez. I was just about to say Perez is clearly behind Leclerc and quite slow, but Perez has actually just took quite a lot of time out of Leclerc's lead over him. So Perez now starting to respond. Now on lap 18. And Verstappen coming up to lap... Who is he coming up to lap there? Is it the Alpines? I think it is. It is. He's... The back of the grid is... Or the back of the midfield is so far behind. It'll be Fernando Alonso who'll be lapping after just 18 laps. That's very embarrassing.
Jeez.
Very embarrassing. And then only a few seconds ahead of him will be Ocon and Vettel. Yeah, Norris now up to 5th, and we'll see now what Lando Norris can do and whether he does have the speed. As on the radar there, still some spots of rain, but I'm not sure we're going to get a heavy shower again that will actually come over the circuit. It's in the area, but I'm not sure it will hit the circuit. But at the minute, really the gap between Verstappen and Hamilton has just stabilised at about 5 to 6 seconds. And really, that safety car restart and the lap after that is what is currently winning Verstappen the race, because if the gap was about a second at the end of that first lap after the safety car restart, I don't think Verstappen would be sitting comfortably at all here, as he will in a moment lap the Alpine of Alonso. But wouldn't you say, Nib, that Hamilton is doing a great job here considering the damage he has, because he's lapping again same pace, if not quicker, as it says on the screen there, than Verstappen, and he clearly has damage to his car.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It is certainly damage to his car, but it's not. It's damage that you can certainly get away with. You know, I remember one time at the Spanish Grand Prix, Felipe Massa got wing damage, and all of a sudden was going half a second quicker every lap because he had wing damage. I mean, I think that was just a suggestion of how bad Ferrari were back then. But yeah, I mean, it's not the worst damage in the world. He can certainly get away with it. But yeah, of course, Hamilton is doing a great job to keep the gap around about the same. And I'm sure both these drivers have a little bit more pace in hand, but they're taking it a little bit easy, because I know it's a long race, and if you make one mistake at Imola, you could be in the wall, unless your name is Carlos Sainz.
Exactly, and Hamilton actually then took 0.6 of a second out of Verstappen just in that sector alone, as Valtteri Bottas are showing on the little mini screen on the TV broadcast, down in 9th, absolutely nowhere. Yeah. That's all you can say about Bottas. I don't think he will get anywhere near a podium. He's miles off a podium. He's about half a minute at least off a podium. So yeah, going to be very hard to see Bottas getting anywhere near. And the first car he's got to deal with is Lance Stroll. And then even if he passes Stroll, he's then got to get 14 seconds to the next car, which is Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. And well, Nib, we can clearly see Norris was quicker, because he's now,
I was just about to say,
5.5 seconds clear after 2 or 3 laps. They should have made that decision way earlier, because Norris is now flying along and maybe not catching Perez, but definitely giving McLaren a good buffer to the rest of the midfield at the minute. But yeah, the minute it's just stabilised. There's nothing really going on at the minute. There's no one within a second of someone else. The closest gap on track is actually Russell versus Raikkonen for 10th place. What a battle that'll be for the last points position. And yeah, the minute on the TV broadcast watching Verstappen versus Hamilton, and the gap is about 5 seconds. I don't know, though, when it comes to pit strategy, what's going to happen. I don't know what the best thing would be for these drivers to do. I don't know if the overcut would work here or the undercut. I'm really not quite sure. But I will say, I don't think we're anywhere near dry tyres. I think we're at least another 15, 20 laps away from that. As, yeah, now on lap 21, and the gap is 5.3 seconds. Who do you think would be the first one to blink then on pit stops? I'd probably say Verstappen on this one.
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, you know, it doesn't look like there's going to be any more rain, and, you know, the track is certainly quickening up. I mean, at the start, after Sergio Perez just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, as Leclerc is complaining that the fronts are gone. So maybe it's Leclerc who might want to come in and do a pit stop.
Yeah, I think he might want to, as Gasly has just passed Mick Schumacher. Leclerc was 11 seconds clear of Perez a few laps ago. Now it's only 6 seconds. So, yeah, I think Leclerc might want to come in probably the next 3 laps. Because if he gets to lap 25 and still ahead of Perez, and the undercut does work well, it might benefit him quite handsomely. Because even though his tyres are suffering, he is still in 3rd place, and he does not want to pit too early, Because I'm assuming if they pit now for another set of inters, and let's say they have to use those inters until the end, if they pit around now, you'd be thinking they'd be wanting to go to the end of the Grand Prix on a set of inters. But again, could have dry tyres later on, as we're now on lap 22. And Charles Leclerc, will he come into the pits? We've got Sebastian Vettel in the pits, but is that dry tyres?
On the slicks. On slicks.
Well, he's going for it. I think this is a really stupid decision, but I'm willing to be proven wrong.
To be honest, Chaz, there was a dry line certainly forming through Villeneuve. I'm not too sure about through Tamburello, but through Villeneuve, there's certainly a dry line.
And, stop-go penalty for Sebastian Vettel of 10 seconds. What's this for? Let's see. Wheels not fitted at the 5-minute signal, like you said. Oh, well, doesn't really matter what he does, because his race is over anyway. As Hamilton says, right front dropping off massively, as, Vettel, it's too soon. Maybe a lap or two too soon, at best. As Gasly goes around the outside, and this is Bottas behind Stroll, but given Valtteri Bottas' lack of ability at overtaking another car, I don't think he'll be getting past Lance Stroll anytime soon, to be fair. I will say, as well, if they were going to try that, they may as well have put him on the soft tyre instead of the medium, because the soft tyre would fire up quicker, so don't quite know why they didn't just go for that, because again, soft tyre would have been a lot better in that situation. But we'll see how he gets on in the next couple laps, as we're now on lap 23 out of 63, about 40 laps to go, and Verstappen is leading by 5 seconds. Leclerc has stabilised the gap to Perez. I think Leclerc's fine to still stay out, and the main battle at the minute is Stroll versus Bottas for 8th place. Also, Tsunoda is only a few tenths behind Antonio Giovinazzi, as Mick Schumacher is coming into the pits. I'm assuming for dry tyres to try something. At least he doesn't have a penalty that'll affect him. As can Bottas, without DRS, get close enough here for an overtake? I severely doubt it, because that Aston Martin is, quite similar to the Mercedes, so be like fighting his teammate, as he gets nowhere near yet again. Just looking at the order, though, we're really just waiting for the pit stops or possible switch onto dry tyres, because everyone in the field, except for this battle and probably the battle between Russell, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Tsunoda, everyone is pretty spaced out right now. So,
yeah.
As Bottas tries a move, but not going to get it done. Do you want to say something, Nib?
Yeah, we're very much in a holding pattern here, just waiting. And of course, Vettel is going to be, is really going to be key. As soon as you start to see purple sectors from Sebastian Vettel, then everyone will be diving immediately onto the slicks. And you can see here through Acqua Minerale, it's pretty dry. There is a dry line here. You just have to be really careful over the curbs. And I mean, and Chambers tweeted this, and I completely agree with him. Vettel's punishment has taken way, way too long.
Exactly. Yeah, he bang on.
Well, lap 23, it was a start line infringement.
I know.
Why has he not got the penalty, after the safety car?
That's the FIA for you. It's clear to all of us to see what he done. I mean, even the safety car overtaking by Perez, that was clear to see. And it took them, 5-6 laps? So, yeah, there you go. As Vettel, by the way, has just took his penalty and is now a lap down on almost the entire top 10. So Sebastian Vettel may as well just pull into the pits and call it a day, because he's about a million miles off everyone. Still, though, ahead of the two Haas cars.
Hamilton's been gaining on Verstappen whilst we were watching Vettel, And there we go. Hamilton saying grip is coming back, and the gap is 3.3 seconds.
Yep, just gained 1.6 on Verstappen on that last lap. So we're now on lap 25 out of 63. And now it's 2.5 seconds. Hamilton is really gaining on Verstappen now as Vettel being lapped. And Gasly as well. Or no, Tsunoda, sorry. There's a lot of cars going to be lapped today. I think we can already say that. As Hamilton being held up so much. Oh, come on, Sebastian. Move out the way. You're holding him up so much.
Oh, that's going to be another penalty.
That's another penalty. Yeah, that was shockingly poor by Vettel. He's cost Hamilton 2 seconds there. As Carlos Sainz, by the way, is now half a second behind Daniel Ricciardo for 6th place. So Carlos Sainz moving up well. Perez has dropped off massively again. As now Hamilton finally gets his way past the back markers. And showing a replay of Verstappen's tyres. They don't look... Well, that left front don't look that great. Well, none of them look good. But... We've seen this before, though, haven't we, Nib, with Hamilton, where he'll say, oh, my tyres are gone or whatever, and then suddenly turn it on and put in stunning pace. So you'd imagine that's what he's about to do here, is possibly where he is now. Look at the gap he's gained back. He was 4 seconds behind a few sectors ago, and now he's 2.5 seconds behind. Gained 1.5 seconds in half a lap And yes, Sainz right behind Ricciardo, as you can see on the mini TV screen on the F1 broadcast. And Ricciardo is starting really to struggle now. And I think Sainz, if he gets a good run out of here and gets in the slipstream, I think Carlos Sainz might be able to challenge for a move. As Hamilton really starting to gain now on Max Verstappen. And yes, Sainz gets in the slipstream of Ricciardo. Round the outside he will go. And gets it done. Ricciardo didn't have the grip to fight. So Carlos Sainz is up to 6th place. Good race, I think, from Carlos so far, despite the mistakes. His pace is good. He just needs to keep it on track, basically. As the gap is now down, as we're about to start lap 27. Almost at halfway distance. The gap is now down to just 2 seconds between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. And I reckon the reason, as Yuki Tsunoda's pitting, the reason they're lapping so many cars is because they're pushing each other so hard and going so quick. They're in another league compared to everyone else. As Sainz, replay of him going around the outside, and that was just a comfortable overtake. Ricciardo's got no pace at the minute. As Tsunoda pits for mediums. So we'll see what he can do. But now Hamilton 1.4 behind. Oh, we're going to get another battle again, unless back markers hold these two up, as Giovinazzi lets Max Verstappen through. And I cannot wait if there is another battle. Cannot wait. As Hamilton, will he get through now? Yes, he will. A lot better driving there from Antonio Giovinazzi than it was from Vettel. And movement in the Red Bull pits.
Vettel starting to lap to very similar times to the guys on Inters now, so we're going to be starting to see everyone diving into the pits very shortly.
Yep, I think we will. Hamilton now.
There we go.
Yep.
Only 3/10 off the first sector.
Yep, so I think we're now going to get... is Max Verstappen going to pit? Yes, he does. What will Lewis Hamilton do? Lewis Hamilton stays on track. This is vital now. Mercedes not moving anywhere. Max Verstappen pits. And he will go on to, I'm sure, a set of medium tyres. Yes, he does. As they're showing the wrong pit box there, briefly. As Verstappen and also Russell into the pits. So is Kimi Räikkönen.
Vettel go on purple now.
Yeah, Vettel and Leclerc up to second now. Leclerc also staying out for the moment. As we're now on lap 28 out of 63. And Verstappen, such a big gap to the wrestler. He's come out in 3rd place. On the medium tyres. But can this thing, if Hamilton puts in on much warmer tyres a stunning in-lap, he could get the lead here without doubt. The gap is 28 seconds between Hamilton and Verstappen, with Hamilton surely coming into the pits in a minute. As Sainz and Gasly are also pitting now. And we'll see. I'm not going to update the running order just yet, because I think if Hamilton comes in a lap later, then we'll get a much more accurate picture. As Sainz, pits, great pit stop. Gasly also pits. Daniel Ricciardo pits as well. Verstappen's losing time on this lap, isn't he? He's lost about a second, I think, on this lap.
Since I've been watching, it stayed about the same at about 28.6 seconds. And it stayed about the same.
And now here comes Lewis Hamilton into the pits, and I think Lewis Hamilton is going to be really close, but I think he might just get the lead here on lap 29 out of 63, about halfway through the Grand Prix. Can Hamilton...
the right front was slow.
Can Hamilton... Yeah, it was a 4-second pit stop. But can Hamilton get the lead? Verstappen's now on the pit straight. Lewis Hamilton is now going to exit the pit lane right about now. And here comes Max Verstappen down the pit straight. And no, Verstappen has got it. Hamilton's pit stop has cost him a couple seconds there. It would have been basically side by side out of the pit lane. But it does remain Verstappen, as they're taking the 10-second penalty now with Perez. It was just a time penalty that they're going to do. And they're replacing his steering wheel. So that steering wheel problem we talked about obviously was still persisting. Maybe that's why he was so slow. So Perez, I don't know if he got back ahead of Norris. I don't know. But here's the replay of Hamilton's pit stop. And like you said, right front was slow, and that cost him a couple seconds. I don't think that cost him the lead, though, because I think Verstappen still would have got it. Just about. Yep, Lando Norris has jumped Sergio Perez. So Norris is up to 4th place. As Bottas now pits. He stayed out a couple laps longer. I'll make sure to update the order once I can. Just waiting for it to all settle down a bit. As we have got Verstappen in the lead. Look at how quick Verstappen was on that lap as well. He's now 6 seconds clear again of Lewis Hamilton. And
well, it seems like Red Bull have got much better tyre warm up than the Mercedes. We saw that the first lap after the safety car come in, Verstappen pulled a 3.3 second gap, and of course, Verstappen was on those tyres a lap older, and gain temperature in those tyres certainly going to help him grow that advantage.
Yeah, and as by the way, Valtteri Bottas has pitted and come out ahead of Lance Stroll, which is great news for him, but he is still miles away from a podium. I think he's actually 45 seconds at least off a podium now. But yeah, he is at least gained a position up to 8th place. Lance Stroll is 9th. George Russell is still hanging on to a point. Please get a point, Russell. Please. It'd be absolutely phenomenal if he could. So yeah, he is still just about ahead of Raikkonen. What?
Verstappen is coming up. They're coming up to lap Bottas.
Oh, and not just coming up to lap Bottas, coming up to lap everyone, it seems, at once. As Verstappen laps the Haas there. Then Stroll, and Hamilton's gained a lot on this lap. He's gained at least 2 seconds from what I can see. And look how many cars are in just one picture. As Sebastian Vettel does the quickest lap of the race so far on lap 30. And yeah, Hamilton has gained at least 2 seconds per lap on this lap alone. But now Hamilton has to negotiate the traffic. Verstappen now laps Valtteri Bottas. What an awful performance by Valtteri. And now Valtteri Bottas has been passed by Lance Stroll. And Stroll is going to go around the outside of Verstappen as he hopefully doesn't make any contact. But no. Oh, what an awful performance by Bottas. Sleeping there. Absolutely asleep. And that's Russell as well. Right behind Bottas. Look. 3 tenths behind. What is going on? Russell is right behind the works Mercedes by only 2 tenths of a second as Hamilton now goes onto the wet line. Hamilton off the track into the gravel trap. Will he get going again? Oh, he's stuck. Oh no, and that is the race win gone for Hamilton. Can he get going again? He has to get going again. He's going to reverse as Leclerc goes through, so Leclerc's up to second. He has to reverse and make sure he doesn't hit the barrier. Is he stuck? Is he stuck? I think he is stuck. Is he stuck, Nib?
I don't know, Chaz. I don't know.
No one knows. He's reversing now. Like I said, he's got to make sure he gets going again without hitting the barrier. Norris goes third. Perez goes fourth. Now he's doing a U-turn through the gravel trap. I think he might get a penalty for that because that's reversing back onto the track. I'm not sure that's entirely allowed.
Oh, that's very unsafe.
Yeah, and he's got front wing damage as well. Lewis Hamilton is basically out of this Grand Prix, and it's his own. What a big... Bottas and Russell are out as well. What's happened there? Oh, massive crash. That's a safety car. Safe. That. What corner's that? That's
Piratella. It looks
oh my
like.
God. That is an absolute... That is an enormous crash. That might be a red flag. They're both okay from what I can see. Wow. Speechless. Absolutely speechless. Mercedes' race is basically ended in one lap. I mean, Hamilton's still probably going to get points, but... Oh, Russell's chance of points is gone because of Valtteri Bottas. And now Russell, I think, is going to have a word with... And we've got a lot... We've got Alonso now off the track as well. What is going on? So, yeah, safety car. And... Right. Neb, I'll let you speak and I'll try and do some of the order because I have no idea what's going on anymore.
Well, I have no idea what that interaction between Bottas and Russell was. I don't know if Russell was saying sorry or not, but I suppose this sort of does help Hamilton a little bit with the safety car, but surely he'd have to have some amount of floor damage if... No, maybe not. I don't think he'd have floor damage because I don't think any of the front wing got trapped underneath his car, but holy smokes, what a lap we've just had of the Imola Grand Prix.
As here we go. Replay. Russell in the slipstream.
That's a turn one.
Yeah. So he's gone around the outside, clipped the grass, and then gone into Bottas, very similar to Vettel and Button at Spa that time. God. And then they have had an absolute enormous crash. And they are so lucky that the barriers are as good as they are. And Russell, second year in a row, points were on, and it's gone away from him because of a moment of madness. Not necessarily his fault. I mean, we'll have to see after, but wow, that was a bad crash. As, well, to be honest, but pretty much sums up Bottas' weekend since qualifying 3, that crash. And that Mercedes is completely destroyed. As pleased to announce, we're only halfway through the Grand Prix. It's lap 33 out of 63. But that could have been... that could have been a really bad... That could have been a lot worse, couldn't it, Nib? I mean, 5-10 years ago, that could have been an unspeakable crash. That's... yeah,
definitely.
That's absolute horrific one, and they're not showing the order, which is really frustrating, but I do know the top 4 is Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris, Perez. And here's a replay of Hamilton. So Hamilton, who's 9th now, I know why he went off track is because he lapped the Williams of Russell on the inside of Tosa, but went onto the damp patch. Red flag. Race has been red flagged on lap 33, and that's no surprise because there is so much debris all over the track. They need time. So we've now got a red flag. What is it with Italian races and red flags? We've had, 3 in the last 7 months, I think. So yeah, another red flag at an Italian, or a race in Italy. The 4th red flag, I believe. Well, no, the 5th is it the 4th or 5th red flag we've had at Italian races the last year? I think we had 2 in Mugello, didn't we?
I can't remember.
It was 2 in Mugello, 1 at Monza, and now 1 here at Imola. But on lap 34 out of 63, the race has been red flagged. And the order is Verstappen leading from Charles Leclerc 2nd, Lando Norris 3rd, Sergio Perez 4th, Carlos Sainz is in 5th place. Daniel Ricciardo is 6th in the McLaren. So McLaren on for an amazing result at the minute. And Lance Stroll is in 7th place. Raikkonen is 8th. And then Lewis Hamilton rejoined in 9th place. And they're now putting the tyre warmers on. They're all parked up in the pit lane now, and it is a red flag. I don't know how long the red flag will last. I'm going to guess it will last 30 to 45 minutes at least. With that amount of debris, and also the barriers probably need a look and a repair if they are damaged, which I guess they would. And then Tsunoda is 10th. Giovinazzi is 11th. And then you've got Alonso in 12th position. And then, who else after that? Ocon 13th. Gasly 14th. And here's a replay nib. Schumacher and, who was that? I think Giovinazzi was so lucky they got through that without any flying debris. So lucky. As is a replay.
Yeah.
And it was, wasn't it? It was the wet grass that Russell clipped. And there was nothing he could do after that.
Yeah, you were absolutely correct with the Vettel Button comparison from 2010.
Yeah.
Absolutely spot on with that comparison. It just looks like George thinks that Bottas is going to squeeze him a bit more and then forces himself to go onto the grass. And then, yeah, that's certainly an apology. I don't think he's actually hitting his helmet there in anger. Yeah, that's George Russell's fault, unfortunately.
Yeah, he was looking so good, on for a really good result, and then like I said, a moment of madness. As let me just complete the rest of the order. So you got Bottas and Russell out of the Grand Prix, along with Latifi. So both Williams out on what has been a great weekend, and I think they can. Hamilton puts his head in his hands and realizes that, well, he's going to be giving away a lot of points today. Even if he recovers from this and gets up to 4th or 5th, that's still 15, 16 points he's given away to Max Verstappen, who, as it stands, would take the championship lead. But there is, like I said, there's still 29 laps to go. Anything could happen yet. We could still have another shower. We could have, someone, again, another accident that causes a safety car that closes it up again. Anything can happen at this point. So do not tune out of the stream, because we still have plenty of laps to go and plenty of excitement left. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the chat before or for some of this red flag period. I don't think I've ever done a watch along, or we've done a watch along during a red flag period. I can't remember one off the top of my head.
No, definitely haven't.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't last an absolute age, but I can see it lasting quite long. Let me read some of the chat. And as well, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well, because we do this content for every Grand Prix weekend. We do qualifying and race watch-alongs for every weekend, and we'll be doing so, of course, in 2 weeks at the Portuguese Grand Prix as well. So don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it there, or just go to my channel page and do it then as well. Don't forget to smash the like button and share this video everywhere you can. But as I said, red flag currently. F1 from 18th down, by the way, if you're just tuning in, is out of the race. So Bottas, Russell, Latifi. I'm probably going to put Ret next to their names just so people know they've been retired. But it is Max Verstappen in the lead, Leclerc is 2nd, Norris 3rd, Perez 4th, Carlos Sainz 5th, Daniel Ricciardo 6th, Stroll 7th, Raikkonen 8th, Hamilton 9th, Tsunoda 10th, and then in the race at the minute, but not in the points, are Giovinazzi, Alonso, Ocon, Gasly, Vettel, Schumacher, Mazepin. And again, retirements, Bottas, Russell, Latifi. So let me just put that next to their name quickly so people know that they are out. We haven't, though, talked to Niv, I think, and it's because of the accident that happened right after about Hamilton's mistake. Just a classic mistake, isn't it, on a damp track? Went off onto the damp patch and just skated off and is basically out of contention now, isn't he?
Yeah, a very, very simple mistake to make. That's for sure around this track. Like if you make a mistake at this track, you get punished. And going off onto the wet line in the damp conditions, it's quite an easy mistake to do. We saw Vettel do it, of course, infamously at Canada in 2011, where he lost the race to Jenson Button. It didn't quite. Well, it has cost Lewis any chance of winning the race. More than likely.
Yeah.
More than likely. Who knows? Some madness could still happen. We've had enough madnesses happening already. But yeah, a big mistake by Hamilton. A big mistake which he didn't need to make. And yeah, he's now on the back foot in P9 behind the likes of Raikkonen and Stroll.
He is, and like I said in the many videos I've done this weekend, it's very hard to overtake here, so he won't just race up to 4th or 5th after 5 laps. It's going to take time for him to get near a podium. I think he can still get a podium, but again, it will take time, and we'll see what he can do. I think at this point, though, for Hamilton, it has to be damage limitation. A damage limitation job for him, because he's not going to win the race. I don't think. Yet again, showing the crash. Didn't Daniel Ricciardo say something about FOM showing crashes? Remember that?
Well, just putting them all over social media.
Well, we can guarantee that one will be all over social media.
True, yeah.
And I will say, I mean, you do have to show crashes, I think, a couple times, because you do need to show all the angles as to what happened, but showing it over and over again definitely is not needed. But here's a replay from Raikkonen's perspective, and yeah. Raikkonen just was like, yep, just slow down, let these two have their accident, and nicely up to 8th place from 16th on the grid. But yeah, what a shame for Russell. The race, Russell honestly was so great in that race until then. And I think you can see there the halo. I mean, how many bits of the debris did the halo shun off then? I think quite a lot.
Holy smokes, yeah.
So, shows you yet again, the halo works wonders. But, and that's another thing someone said in the chat, and we should bring it up. Does Hamilton get a penalty for reversing onto the track? What do you think of that?
Oh, that will probably be investigated after the race.
Yeah, I think with that, that's not a certain penalty, because there will be circumstances behind, they'll have to go through all the evidence and look at the track map and all of that. I would say he deserves a penalty, because by my memory, I think there were cars approaching that corner and you can't reverse onto track, from what I can remember. Or at least knowingly reverse onto track. So, yeah, I think at the minute, if I was going to lean in one direction, and I'm not going to stick with this opinion because I'm sure there's plenty of evidence to go over later on, but I would go with Hamilton getting a penalty for that, because, yeah, that just seemed a bit unsafe, especially considering that it's not a dry circuit with still plenty of damp parts, and you could have easily had a car misjudging, because they saw Hamilton reversing onto track, you could have easily had a car misjudging the braking point and hitting the back of him and possibly going over the top of him. So, yeah, I think Hamilton probably should get a penalty for that, but we'll see what happens later on and what evidence comes out that might help his case. But Hamilton damaged his front wing, trying to, as they show it now, trying to get going again. And there was a long moment of silence between me and you, wondering if he was going to get out again. And he did, but yeah, the length of time was almost race ending. Right, let me look at the chat. as no sign as of yet as to when the race will get back underway. It will get back underway because there is still plenty of daylight left, and also for anyone wondering about the whole the race timer. The race timer is frozen during a red flag period. That's why the Canadian Grand Prix was 4 hours and 4 minutes, because there was, 3 red flags or 2 red flags or something like that. Or I think the red flag, or if there was only 1 red flag period, it was for like 2 hours or something. So, I think, yeah, the race will be fine in terms of getting going again. Let me read some of the chat. Trying to find some good comments, all the best comments I can. Bravum, Kimi doesn't overtake anybody, seems to make up 8 places. It's a really good point. And it's very Kimi Räikkönen. He'll start near the back and then just suddenly appear in the points, and he's not actually done anything. He's just kept a level head and just appeared up in 8th place. That's typical Kimi Räikkönen, that is. Someone's saying, looking at the replay, I think that some of the blame must go to Bottas. I disagree, because maybe you could say he pulled over to the left a bit late, but the reason the crash happened is because Russell touched the grass. It was Russell's own mistake. Maybe, Bottas could have pulled to the left sooner, but I think most drivers would have got away with that just fine. So, yeah, I don't think Bottas can really be blamed, but I think we can definitely blame Bottas for putting in a shocking performance. Shouldn't even be racing a Williams. He should be miles ahead, should be lapping it. But no, he's desperately defending a Williams for 9th and 10th place. So, instead of sympathising with Bottas, I think you should blame him for even being in that position anyway. Let me see if there's any other comments here, quick. Let's read out. As, no sign of the race getting going yet. Benji says, I think Hamilton will get a penalty because it was an unsafe re-entry. Tina says Hamilton hasn't received any penalty. No, not yet, but as we've seen in the past, after the race, we do tend to get, investigations and then penalties after. And I think if he finishes outside of the podium, I think his chances of getting a penalty after the race probably increase. Right, let me find some other comments here quick. George's front wing went onto the grass for a split second, sending him into Bottas. Absolutely, that's again why the incident happened. Jop, are you even allowed to back up onto the track? I don't believe so. I think there are maybe some grey areas that say, depending on certain circumstances, your re-entry to the track can be allowed in certain ways, but in the way he came back on track, I don't think that was a safe re-entry, because he literally U-turned and then just reversed onto what was almost the racing line. So I think if I was to decide now, if I was the FIA, penalty or no penalty, I would have to go penalty on that. Right, let me find some other comments here. By the way, thank you to Ro, who says, amazing commentary. Someone should give you guys an award. Thank you very much for that. Martin says, Hamilton should be punished. Vincent, Mazepin moving up. Yeah, at least that's something. I'm getting Germany 2019 vibes. Everyone spinning out as soon as they touch the wet. Yeah, it is similar. Let me see if there's any others here I can read out. Thomas wants to know, can somebody tell me how we ended up here? Well, I'll try my best. So, wet start. We had intermediate tyres for most or all of the cars for about 25 laps. Verstappen got a great start to the Grand Prix, got up to first place. Bottas stayed down, low down. Leclerc got up to third. Perez was struggling. Perez then got a 10-second time penalty for overtaking under the safety car. That's why he's behind Norris and Leclerc. Norris, of course, had his bad qualifying, but has showed great pace. Carlos Sainz has gone off a couple times, but again, showed great pace and is up in 5th place. Ferrari looking really good here. 28 points at the minute they're going to be scoring. Raikkonen's just kept out of trouble. That's why he's up in 8th. And then Hamilton. The reason Lewis Hamilton is down in 9th is simply because after the switch from wet to dry tyres, he started to close the gap on Verstappen massively because they were lapping cars. And then, passing Russell at Tosa down the inside on the damp patch, Hamilton went off the track, hurt his front wing a bit, reversed onto the track, which is why I think he probably should get a penalty for that. And then toured back to the pits, got and is in 9th place for the minute. And then Bottas and Russell have had an absolute colossal crash that has brought out the red flag. And I think I just looked at the one of the camera angles there, and I think they've cleared most of the zone. So I think we should be getting going soon. Hopefully next 10-15 minutes, because it looks as though they've cleared away most of the barriers. Look fine now. I think they've got almost all of the debris cleared. So
they had all the debris cleared about 10 minutes ago. It was just them fixing the barriers now.
Yeah, so should get going hopefully in the next 10-15 minutes. Half an hour maybe at most. A good job, by the way, by the marshals, because, again, and race control say the race will resume in 9 minutes from now. So in 9 minutes' time, the race will get underway, and it'll actually be a starting grid. Remember, starting grid, standing start rather, restart. So you're gonna have Verstappen and Leclerc in the front row. How exciting is that? And then Norris third, Perez fourth. To be fair, that actually helps Hamilton's chances coming back through a standing start, because if he gets a great start and gains 2 or 3 positions, then that's him dispatching cars, straight away. But you excited for that, Nib? Verstappen, Leclerc, front row.
Oh, yeah, mate. This is gonna be fireworks. That's for sure. But I mean, who knows? We could see Lando Norris get a monster start from P3, and all of a sudden be into the lead. But it's going to be who's on the dry side of the grid here. Who's on the dry line?
Oh, is it P2?
It'll be the cars on the right hand side of the grid.
Yeah, it'll be P2. So Leclerc has the drier line. So
yeah, well then you've got to say that Leclerc, it's advantage Leclerc.
Who thought that Leclerc would be in such a position? I definitely didn't think that. And then you'll have Leclerc, Perez, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Tsunoda. They'll be on the drier side. So will Alonso, Gasly, and Mick Schumacher. Well, now I'm really excited. Cannot wait now for the restart, because I think we are in, like you said, we're in for a great restart, especially with a Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris front 3, and then you've got Sainz and Ricciardo back there as well. Bring on, again, the next 29 laps. Remember, we've still got basically half of the Grand Prix left, so we've still got a very interesting and great race, I think, to come. I mean, if Verstappen maintains the lead, I think Max will win the race, as long as he doesn't have a problem, because he does have a quicker car than the Ferrari. I mean, the Ferrari's a lot better, but it's still not there. But if Leclerc can get into the lead, then after that, who knows? Anything could happen, as we've got 6.5 minutes to go until the red flag period, or until the race restarts. So I'm assuming the cars will come out of the pit lane and do a formation lap in probably about 5 minutes. Unless, say, it's 6.5 minutes until that, which it probably is. But Yeah, let me know, guys, in the chat. I mean, it almost does feel like the start of a new Grand Prix. Who do you think wins then? I'm going to probably go for Max Verstappen on this one because he is looking really quick. And then after that, I mean, Perez in dry conditions, you would hope could get up into second place, but Leclerc, Norris, Sainz, Ricciardo are, very good drivers and quick as well. And then Hamilton, who knows where he'll get up to. But yeah, let me know in the chat, who do you think will win the race? Surely it's got to be Max Verstappen there. But again, like we said, as long as he maintains the lead, it should be him running away with it.
Yeah, it should be. Of course, he's certainly the favourite for this race, but he just has to get a good start. The pitch straight is pretty dry, but of course, where the cars have been going over more and more, it's going to be certainly an advantage for those starting on the right-hand side of the grid. So I think Leclerc has the advantage a little bit here at the start, but geez, I don't know what's going to happen, Chaz. I think it's going to be an absolute madness again.
Yeah, most likely it will be. Cannot wait though, and we're going to be getting back underway in probably just under 5 minutes time. As Alonso, as usual, despite not being in a good car and having some troubles, is still surviving and still in contention in 12th place, as now they are moving their cars, I think, to the pit lane exit, some of the teams, or all of the teams. As well, actually, no, I know what they're doing. They're moving the lapped cars ahead of Verstappen's car, which includes, interestingly, Lewis Hamilton, who was one of those lapped cars. That just shows you how much time he lost on that lap where he went off into the barriers at the Tosa hairpin. And I think Verstappen had lapped 7th place down, so it just shows you how searing the pace was at the front until Hamilton made that mistake. So they're all moved forward, and then they'll obviously get going, and they'll probably will they line off on the grid before the front of the grid? I don't know, but yeah, it's going to be, in case you missed it, with the red flag about to end and the standing restart about to take place, Max Verstappen will be starting on pole, from Leclerc 2nd, Norris 3rd, Perez 4th, and then Sainz in 5th, Ricciardo 6th, Stroll 7th, Raikkonen 8th, Hamilton 9th, and Yuki Tsunoda in 10th. And then Giovinazzi will be 11th, with Alonso, Ocon, Gasly, Vettel, Schumacher, and Mazepin. And of course, out of the race, Bottas, Russell, and Latifi. Those are the drivers out of the Grand Prix. And then the rest, of course, will be starting the race for what is essentially a sprint race, which, of course, we'll be getting a couple of those this season, unfortunately. A couple minutes until we get going again. I'll try and read some of the chat out quickly because, of course, we won't be able to look at it during the race because we'll be too busy occupied with what's going on. Perez will podium according to Vincent. Aruna, will there be any pit stops after restart? I don't think there will be because I think, they can. Under red flag conditions, you're allowed to put on a fresh set of tyres. So if anyone wanted to put on another set of tyres so they just got to the end, they can do that. So I don't think there will be another pit stop from most of them. We'll see, though. I mean, if we get people starting on the soft, then that could force them to pit, which, of course, around Imola, you want to pit as least as possible because of coming back out into traffic. Hamilton, he will be on the medium tyre, and those cars get going again. So, the lapped cars are now back out on track as the race will be underway. And I'm assuming these lapped cars will just rejoin the back of the front pack in a moment. There was only 6 cars, I believe, on the lead lap, which was Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris, Perez, Sainz, Ricciardo. As Latifi is in the Williams garage. And race restarting or I guess you could say the formation lap, is in just over a minute's time. As Latifi, I think, is going to look back at the crash between Russell and Bottas, or maybe not. Oh no, he's going to look back to something else.
Well, he certainly was looking at it to start off. He might be going back to look at his crash.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, we've got, less than a minute now until Verstappen will come out of the pit lane and do a formation lap. So I think when they come off the grid, I think that'll be lap 35, won't it? When they come off the grid, because they'll cross the line again. So, probably just going to put lap 35, because that'll be the real racing lap, I believe. Once they, as I said, once they set off the grid, that'll click lap 35 as Hamilton then comes back in the pit, so they're all going to rejoin the back of the pack in the pit lane. And then Verstappen will get the pack going again. And we're going to get to see, in the second half of this Grand Prix, what can happen and who can get, on a mental day where you've got a Mercedes load down and a Mercedes out of the race, who can get a big result for their season, such as, Alfa Romeo, McLaren, Ferrari. Let's see who can get a possible season-changing or season-defining result for themselves, as Max Verstappen has got going again behind the safety car, and I'm pretty sure it is a standing start, isn't it, Nib, with the new rules the last year or so?
It should be. I wonder why the track map is still showing Nicholas Latifi's car on screen just before turn 14.
It's some sort of problem. It says rolling start by race control.
Rolling start. Okay.
I don't know if that means, is that a safety car restart then? I have no idea. We'll see.
It will be. Yeah. It'll be a safety car restart.
Raikkonen has lost a couple positions.
Oh?
He's dropped behind Hamilton and Tsunoda for some reason. Tsunoda, by the way,
is this a transponder issue, or
we'll have to see.
Actually...
by the way, Ricciardo's on soft tyres for this restart. That is a big surprise, I have to say, because he'll probably have to come in again. I
assume they might be thinking that the cooler track temperatures might make it a little bit more friendly on the tyres. I mean, Perez is on the softs.
And Norris.
And so is Norris, so...
We'll have to see. But that seems a bit of a risk, but there you go. Hamilton, and you can see, Raikkonen is below Hamilton and Tsunoda. So Raikkonen, here we go. Oh, he's gone onto the damp patch, hasn't he? He's made a mistake. Let's see, Tamburello. Oh, he's spun on the entry to turn 3, and he's so lucky to get out of the gravel trap. Oh dear. Just as I said, he keeps his cool. Oh, Verstappen! Oh, Jesus Christ! He almost spun off there and lost the lead, but he keeps it just about.
Holy shit.
What a moment that was for Verstappen.
That was China 2016 all over again.
It was.
Or 17, yeah.
And it is a rolling start because Verstappen has got going again, and we're now on lap 35 out of 63 for this Grand Prix. And Norris trying to go round the outside of Leclerc on soft compound tyres. Will he get the move done? Yes, he will. Norris is up to second on those fresher, softer, warmer tyres. Oh, and that's an AlphaTauri off the track. It's Tsunoda. He did pass Hamilton and then went off. So I wonder if there was contact. So Tsunoda should get going again as he's down now into 15th place. Interestingly, both Haas cars are still a lap down somehow. I don't know how that's possible. It
might have been 2 laps down.
Yeah, possibly. Verstappen leads from Norris second. Norris on those compounded tyres now should be quick enough to at least keep up with Verstappen for a couple laps, as Norris Yeah, up to second position. And then Leclerc third, Perez fourth. Here we go. And Tsunoda did what Raikkonen did. So he did pass Hamilton, and then he spun on the curb. So another mistake from Yuki Tsunoda this weekend that's cost him quite a lot. As, Norris keeping up at the minute with Max Verstappen as we're about to start lap 36 at a 63. And the order has basically remained as it was, except for Tsunoda moving down. And Verstappen, 0.8 clear, about half a second clear now of Lando Norris. And Leclerc in third, Perez fourth. Surely Perez can at least have a go at Charles Leclerc, as Leclerc is on a set of medium tyres, which are still taking time to warm up. And of course, the Red Bull is the faster car. We are completing the top 10 now of the two Alfa Romeos of Raikkonen and Giovinazzi, with Alonso now up to 11th. And it's all now just settled down, and now I think the main fight is really going to be in the midfield for the podium between Norris, Leclerc, Perez, Sainz, Ricciardo, Stroll, Hamilton. What a battle that is going to be for the final so many laps. As Gasly, by the way, has gone up to 12th place. Hopefully he can progress back up through the field. And then, Ocon is down to 13th, with Vettel in 14th. By the way, Sebastian Vettel still has the fastest lap point, or well, not point, but he still has the fastest lap at the minute. And Yuki Tsunoda now down. Hopefully so.
It'll change very shortly.
Yep, it will. And at the minute, can't see anyone really going for a move. And there you go, Max Verstappen, quickest lap of the race. So 1 minute 21.0. And he should comfortably win the Grand Prix now, as Perez is within a second of Leclerc.
Chillax, Chazza, chillax. You see how easy it is to make a mistake, to dip a curb too much. Dip one of your tyres on the curb, not dip a curb on your tyre, and spin it around. So it's very easy to make a mistake. It's certainly not over yet.
Well, you are right, but
he's in control.
Yeah,
he's in control.
In control, as Martin Brundle would say, at this stage of the Grand Prix, as Perez is about 0.7 of a second behind Leclerc, and Leclerc now within a second of Norris. So Norris's tyres already, I won't say have gone off, but the advantage has now gone away, as Hamilton stuck in 8th place behind Lance Stroll, now seeing it on the TV broadcast, and it's going to be so hard to pass Stroll because that Aston Martin in a straight line, pretty quick, and Stroll is also pretty quick as well. So Hamilton, well, judging by the grip he has got behind Stroll, going to take a few laps to get past him. As Ricciardo, by the way, has dropped off massively compared to the 3 or 4 ahead of him, again because I think of that tyre choice. As Verstappen, another new fastest lap, a 1:20.3, and looking very strong. As Lewis Hamilton, I think he has the DRS, does he? I don't know. But he doesn't, he's nowhere near close enough to get an overtake done, so Hamilton remains in 8th position. Gets a bit close now. Yellow flag in Sector 1 and Sector 2. Sergio Perez has had a moment. Sergio Perez is in the barriers, look. He's in the gravel trap even. They're not showing it for some reason. There you go. Sergio Perez has made a mistake at the Villeneuve. And he is basically out of contention. He's done an Alex Albon of last year. And he's blown it with a great result on the line. Sergio Perez, oh, such a shame. And he might as well pit now because those tyres will be destroyed. And here's a replay. Gonna guess he clipped a curb. No, spun before that. I think he spun on the damp. Pretty sure he spun on that damp patch, didn't he? There's a damp patch on the exit there.
And that's what I mean, Chazza. It's so easy to make a mistake in these conditions.
Yeah. That's clear proof of it, so maybe it's not all over, but Verstappen does do another new fastest lap as he pulls the gap over Norris to 2.8 seconds. I will say the pace of the McLaren, though, is still pretty good, as Hamilton now gets DRS slipstream on Lance Stroll. Stroll's not going to defend this, but Hamilton does have to go on to the damp part of the track, and Hamilton gets it done. So Hamilton is now up to 6th place. So let me update that right now. So Hamilton up to 6th, gained obviously 2 positions, one passing Stroll, and secondly, and by the way, he has pulled away massively from Stroll. Did Stroll have a moment just then? I don't know, but he's pulled 3 seconds over Stroll in 4 or 5 corners, so Stroll must have had an issue. And yeah, not a comfortable overtake because of the damp parts of the circuit, but he had to get that done. But yeah, Stroll down to 7th. Now got 2 Alfa Romeos, 8th and 9th. Raikkonen 8th. Giovinazzi in 9th place for Alfa Romeo. And then in 10th place, somehow, he does it all the time, somehow grabbing a point. Fernando Alonso in 10th place, even though he's been nowhere really this weekend. And then Gasly is 11th, now lap 40. And Verstappen is relentless in the lead, as we've now got 23 laps to go. He does the fastest lap. I say that, now Lewis Hamilton does the fastest lap. And Hamilton 11.5 seconds off the lead. It's not actually as far off the lead as I thought he would be at this point. 1:19.4 for Lewis Hamilton. Still, though, pretty hard to see him getting up to 2nd. But you never know. He is obviously a very, very quick driver. As let me just complete the rest of the order. So Alonso has just lost 10th place to Pierre Gasly. So Gasly up to 10th. AlphaTauri at the minute salvaging something from this Grand Prix. So Alonso down to 11th. And then Ocon is in 12th place. And then it'll be... And here's a replay of Perez on the way back to the pits. And does he have a flat tyre? I don't know. Looks as though he has a flat tyre. Or something wrong with his car there. As Verstappen does another new fastest lap now on lap 41. Let me just update the order though quickly. Vettel is 13th. And then Perez has rejoined in 14th position. So, lap 41 out of 63. And it's Verstappen leading from Norris by 4 seconds as Giovinazzi's pitted. Is this a retirement? It must be.
No?
Yeah, it is. Oh, that's such a shame. He was 9th. Oh, what a shame. Oh, what's happened? No, they pulled debris off his car. That was weird. I'm guessing there was something stuck in his brake duct or something.
Yeah, probably a tear off stuck in his rear brake duct.
Yeah, that must be what it was. But that's such a shame because he was 9th and now he's 15th. Oh, so many drivers suffering with bad luck today. As Gasly now somehow up to 9th place. And Ocon has passed Alonso. Ocon now 10th. Alonso 11th. And then Vettel is 12th. 13th is Sergio Perez. And then 14th as Verstappen's another new fastest lap. Just fastest lap after fastest lap at the minute from him. Tsunoda 14th. And then Antonio Giovinazzi is in 15th. Can Hamilton pass Ricciardo here on the pit straight? I think he is. Here we go. Ricciardo kind of defends it, but Hamilton goes round the outside, and Lewis Hamilton is up into 5th place on lap 42. So,
Jeez, I tell you what, DRS is pretty powerful around here this year. I know they increased it, and yeah, it seems to be certainly working.
Yeah, it's definitely working. Probably working a bit too well, to be honest, because that was really not a competitive overtake, nor was the Hamilton-Stroll one. But there you go, Hamilton now up into 5th place. As we're now on the TV broadcast, looking back towards Sebastian Vettel in an epic fight with Fernando Alonso for 11th place. As Alonso really has struggled this weekend. I mean, he's been saying that he still needs to improve massively with himself, but I'll be honest, I didn't really believe that much. But I think this weekend has really showed that he is, he's got a ways to go to get up to speed, because Ocon has really been clearly quicker than him this weekend. as Verstappen, another new fastest lap, a 1:18.6 now. With 20 laps to go, Lewis Hamilton now does the fastest lap on an 18.3. So it's such a shame we don't have Hamilton at the front. It would be a very close battle between those two, as Vettel, he is within DRS of Alonso, but I don't see him getting close enough. No, surely not. No, he won't. Not from there. But he is closing on Fernando Alonso, who is, look, by the looks of it, just trying to survive, as Sergio Perez has caught that pack very quickly, and Perez should be on the back of them very soon. The next target for Lewis Hamilton is Carlos Sainz in 4th place. Given the lack of straight line speed of the Ferrari, that should be a comfortable overtake. As is a replay of Vettel kicking up some gravel. That's been done so many times this weekend. And probably costing him a 10th or so on the run out of that corner compared to Alonso. But the race has really settled down into kind of a boring pattern, hasn't it now, Nib? I mean, Hamilton looks as though with the pace he's got, he's probably going to finish in 2nd place, because we've still got 20 laps or so to go, and he's just picking them off one by one.
Yeah, it's the safety car and the red flag certainly has played into Hamilton's hands, being able to unlap himself and get past all of these lot, because of course, up to Ricciardo, they're all a lap ahead of him.
Yeah.
Oh well, were they? Were all of them ahead of him? I can't exactly remember, but certainly some of them were. So it certainly helped Hamilton quite a lot here in his recovery drive. And well, I think the way he's picking them off shows that it's just not the car; it is indeed the driver. Because you saw Bottas battling with George Russell the entire race, basically.
Absolutely.
In a Williams.
Yeah. Yeah. Without doubt, Hamilton. I think the Mercedes at the moment definitely, in race speed, I would say the Mercedes is bang on equal with the Red Bull, but definitely over qualifying trim, Mercedes still have a 10th or 2 to be found. But I think Hamilton, like you said, benefited massively from that safety car and red flag, because he was a lap down certainly on Verstappen and I think Norris and Leclerc. Not sure about Sainz and Ricciardo though, but yeah, he definitely would not have a chance of a podium if there had not been a safety car or a red flag. As on the mini screen, Sergio Perez, I think, is setting up a move to pass Sebastian Vettel down the pit straight. Will Vettel defend this? Yes, he does. Perez will try to go around the outside, but he can't. Vettel defends it well in the battle over 12th and 13th place. As the closest battle on track, and probably the biggest battle on track right now, is Norris versus Leclerc for P2. Leclerc within a second now, only 0.8 of a second behind Norris, who is starting to struggle quite a lot on his soft compound tyres. As a Ferrari, they're in for a great result. They're in for 27 points at the minute. I do stress, at the minute. And McLaren, at the minute, are on for 26 points. So, great day at the minute for McLaren and Ferrari. But there is still another, 17, I think, laps to go. As Perez, right behind the Aston of and black and white flag for Tsunoda for track limits. He's obviously trying a bit too hard to get himself back into the action, as I'm sure Perez will be passing Vettel here.
I was about to say, Vettel will probably get his lap time deleted for how wide he went off at the chicane there, because it's the red line that you're allowed to go to, not over the white line, on the painted white line. Because now we've got Perez trying to overtake Sebastian Vettel into turn 2, but he can't quite get it done. He's just not able to quite get the move done on Sebastian Vettel at the moment, is he?
No, he just doesn't have... Maybe he's lost confidence, I don't know, but he should be past him quite comfortably. By the way, just to update, Gasly has passed Raikkonen for 8th place And Gasly not too far behind Stroll, so Gasly could end up getting in the top 7 still, despite that horrific first few laps because of him starting on the wet tyres, as Max Verstappen does another fastest lap, a 1:18.0, as we're now on lap 47 out of 63. So yeah, about 16 laps to go here at Imola. Perez nowhere near close enough at the minute to be troubling the back of that Mercedes. But really, we should be looking at the battle for second, because Norris is only 6 tenths ahead of Leclerc. Sainz is 1.2 behind Leclerc, and Hamilton is a second behind Sainz. So a great battle for second, third, fourth, and fifth. But we're busy watching the battle for 12th and 13th, which is questionable to say the least. As Perez, can he get the move done now? The Aston Martin is pretty quick in a straight line, but shouldn't be that quick. Perez, will he go around the outside? Oh, that's a damp part, and he's going to bump over. And has he lost his front wing, or has he hurt his front wing? I don't know. But Vettel gets back ahead. I thought he damaged his car there, Perez. Lucky to get away with any. If he's not suffered that big a damage, he's very lucky to get away with that, and remains in 13th place. But he got out wide at turn 2 onto the damp patch, and lives to fight another day. But we need to be watching the battle for second right now, and we're not. As here's a replay, and yeah, Vettel managed that one superbly, keeping ahead of Perez. Was there contact? Yes, there was, wasn't there? Just about.
Yeah, a little bit of contact.
Yeah, right tire to right front tire to the side pod, I think, of Perez. And here we go, finally, on lap 48, the battle for second between Norris, who is only 7 tenths clear of Leclerc, Sainz only a second behind his teammate, and Hamilton only a second behind Carlos Sainz. This is where it gets hard for Lewis Hamilton now, with 4 great drivers fighting for podium, as Perez has another go on Vettel. Will he get the move done now? Round the outside. And I think he's got it done. Yes, he has. Sergio Perez is now up to 12th position. So great for him. As Verstappen, by the way, has got this race surely. Not 100%, but surely the race is his with 15 laps to go, because he is 12 seconds almost clear of the next car. As Leclerc just simply cannot get close enough to the back of that McLaren. And of course, the lack of speed for Ferrari having a straight line will affect them here. Cannot get close enough to the back to make a move, as Hamilton does have DRS on Carlos Sainz. Will Lewis Hamilton go for a move on Sainz? Sainz will have to defend this. He does. Hamilton round the outside. Carlos Sainz, though, defends that superbly. Forces Hamilton onto the damp patch. And Hamilton almost having a spin there, but again, lives on. And this is going to be a great battle nib, isn't it, between Norris, Leclerc, and Sainz and Hamilton. But like I said, that lack of straight line speed for Ferrari is going to hurt them, isn't it? Because they really have the pace for second here.
It really is, and Sainz is going to have to do a mega job to hold Hamilton up here. And he's already done a mega job on that lap, holding Hamilton up. But I think the DRS will just be a bit too powerful down the pitch straight, and Hamilton will end up getting past Sainz probably at this lap, as we're just seeing a replay here. Sainz defends it absolutely perfectly. Well done, Carlos Sainz.
Absolutely. As yep, they're about to go onto the pit straight in a moment. They're just heading into the first of the Ravazzas, as Max is pulling away from the rest by, or at least a second per lap, as they're now on lap 50 out of 63. And now, what can Leclerc do? Leclerc does have DRS, but he's not close enough. I think he made a slight mistake in one of the Ravazzas then. He's not as close as he should be. In Hamilton, is he going to pass Carlos Sainz? Yes, he has. Lewis Hamilton, very good comeback drive so far. He is up into 4th place past Carlos Sainz. Sainz can't really fight it because he doesn't have the straight line speed compared to the Mercedes. So Sainz, nothing really you can do there.
And he didn't have the DRS. If he had the DRS of his teammate in front, he probably would have been able to defend the position. But not having DRS there, Hamilton's going to get the overtake done every day of the week.
Absolutely. And Hamilton now trying to pass Charles Leclerc for third place. Only a second behind, not within DRS right now. But as long as Leclerc can keep within a second of Norris, he should be able to keep Hamilton at bay at least for a few laps. But like you said, if Leclerc dips out of DRS, then he's going to be a bit of a sitting duck to Lewis Hamilton. As I'm sure Norris, by the end of the race, Norris is surely going to be struggling on his tyres because he is on the soft tyre and that will degrade massively, I think, towards the end on this green racetrack. With only 12 laps to go as Hamilton does a new fastest lap. And Hamilton doesn't quite have the DRS. Leclerc does. Hamilton does a 1 minute 17.8 for his fastest lap. At the minute, fastest lap point, which will be an important point for later in the season. As, yeah, Leclerc just not close enough. About 0.7 of a second away. As Norris desperately tries to hang on to second place. What a result it would be for Norris if he got onto the podium. After a great drive in Bahrain, he'd probably deserve one considering the day and weekend he has had. By the way, Ocon right behind Raikkonen for 9th and 10th. So I'll keep an eye on that battle. But too close to call at the minute. This battle, Norris, Leclerc and Hamilton. And Hamilton just going to have to hope that Leclerc makes a bit of a mistake and falls out of the DRS of Norris, which could happen. But Leclerc's been driving pretty great as of late. As there are some Ferrari fans waving some flags. So there is a bit of support for Ferrari as they come onto the pit straight again. And Leclerc does have DRS. Hamilton does as well. He does get a bit of a slipstream on Leclerc, but I don't think he'll get close enough here. No, he won't. So Hamilton will have to wait to get past as right up behind Leclerc here. And Leclerc looks as though he's a couple tenths closer, or he was a moment ago, to Lando Norris. So if he can stay 5 to 6 tenths of a second behind when they go to the Ravazzas, the last two corners, I reckon Leclerc could at least force Norris into defending his position. But at the moment, not in a position to do that. Where do you see this going, Nib? Do you think Hamilton will get second here? I mean, he does have, of course, the speed to get second.
I feel like we might just be in a little bit of a holding pattern here for the next 5 or so laps, and then towards the end it might just explode into an absolute bit of a manic battle for second. Unless, of course, Leclerc loses the DRS on Norris, which is awfully close to doing so.
Just got it.
About got it, but he's still under threat here from Hamilton. Hamilton was really quick through the Ravazzas as they're heading down the pitch straight here. Hamilton gaining all of the time down the pitch straight. Can he make a move up the inside of Charles Leclerc? No, Leclerc sees it coming. Hamilton was moving for it, but Leclerc defending the middle of the track and stays in P3 for the time being.
Yeah, he does, just about. By the way, we've got a bit of a train forming behind Raikkonen. Got Ocon just about within a second. And then Alonso. Ocon, I think, is about to pass Raikkonen. No, he doesn't. He was right behind him, though. You got Raikkonen just ahead of Ocon, who's just ahead of Alonso, and then just ahead of Perez. So a four-way battle for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. A very important battle in the midfield, especially for Alfa Romeo and Alpine, who look as though they're going to be very close to each other this season. As Leclerc, just about within DRS at the minute of the McLaren. But he could easily slip away. But no, I think he will get the DRS this time. As I got to say, the McLaren in the two Ravazzas is so strong compared to the Ferrari. Able to pull a tenth and a half just in those corners alone. Hamilton will get another slipstream on Leclerc, but he won't be close enough, surely, for a move. No, he will not. As we are less or just about 10 laps to go here at Imola. Guys, let me know in the chat, who do you think is going to win this battle between Norris, Leclerc and Hamilton? And as well, don't forget to subscribe for more watch-alongs like this, as we're doing watch-alongs for every qualifying and race for the rest of the season, as well as Norris doing a great job here to hold on to P2 and Leclerc. And they're actually going to come up to a back marker in a moment. I think that's Mazepin.
It should be Mazepin.
Yeah, so he might play a factor here. We'll have to see when they catch him up. Mazepin miles off the pace, obviously, because of the Haas and also because it's him. As Mick Schumacher is also about a minute behind Giovinazzi. They were, though, a lap behind to start or restart the race. So that's why they're so far behind. Max Verstappen does another fastest lap, a 1 minute 17.7. Obviously, very keen to come away with an extra point, which of course would help his championship challenge a lot. Leclerc's not got DRS this time. I'm afraid he's about to lose third place, and he does comfortably. Lewis Hamilton is up to third place, and surely there is nothing stopping him now from getting second place in this Grand Prix. As incident involving Raikkonen will be investigated after the race. Rolling start procedure infringement. I don't know what that would be. We saw him spin off on that lap, but I don't think that's a violation, so he must have done something else. I don't know. But Hamilton is up to third, and it wasn't even close between the Mercedes and the Ferrari. But I'm sure Ferrari will be in a few more positions like this later on in the season. Maybe not with a Mercedes, but where they can possibly be close to a podium. So good progression still from Ferrari. And 5-second time penalty for Yuki Tsunoda for track limits. Now he's, it's like the F1 game now. He's actually getting penalties for track limits. As Hamilton, just over a second behind the McLaren of Lando Norris. And I think Norris will struggle big time to hold off Hamilton here. Norris's focus has got to be to hold off Charles Leclerc. As Raikkonen, by the way, still in 9th place, despite that investigation over whatever he's done on the restart of the Grand Prix. As I'm sure McLaren will just be desperate to get a podium here. The first podium of the season. Of course, our last podium was in... when was it? I think it was Monza last year was our last podium. As Hamilton now closing up a lot. But great race, though, by Lando Norris, you've got to say, Nib. A great season so far, but would you call him driver of the day today?
Oh, jeez. I'd have to think about that, but I would say probably Verstappen. I mean, the start he had and the way that he has not made a mistake. Well, I mean, he nearly bodied it, didn't he, on the restart?
I forgot
after the
about
red
that.
flag.
Yeah.
That's about the only mistake he's made. For me, it has to be Verstappen. He's not made a key mistake like Lewis Hamilton has, and yeah, although Hamilton's not really going to pay for it here, he's probably going to get P2. As he's got the DRS on Lando Norris. Oh my goodness, Lord, he's gaining very quickly. Is he going to go down the inside? No, he's not. Jeez, that got very close. It just shows the power of the DRS towards the latter stages of the straight. Once the cars really stop accelerating and they start to reach their top speed, the DRS just gives the extra oomph.
It absolutely does.
Hamilton will probably get up into P2 here at the start of next lap.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine so. I'd probably have to go Norris driver of the day just over Verstappen. Verstappen has driven so well. Great performance by him, but Lando, I mean, in this race, he's also been faultless and been so quick as well. And considering his tyres are degrading quite a lot now at this point, great performance by him. And he is actually at the moment winning the driver of the day vote, but I'd have to give it just about to Lando Norris. And again, great start to the season for him. And if he continues his result at the minute, he will be going up to third in the Drivers' Championship on 20-something points. I think it'll be 27 points. As Lewis Hamilton, will he get the move done now? No, he won't. Great defense by Norris. As a bit of break up on the camera there. But Norris holds on for another lap as Leclerc has dropped back quite a bit. 2 seconds behind Hamilton and Norris now in this battle for second and third. And Carlos Sainz...
Jesus,
go on.
I'm just noticing, Chaz, that Lance Stroll is only a second behind Daniel Ricciardo, who clearly is not having a good time out there at the moment.
I completely missed that, and you're absolutely bang on. He's within DRS now, as this is Gasly behind Stroll. Oh, going into the gravel in between the two Ravazzas. So you've got a three-way battle now for 6th, 7th, and 8th. So I'm sure Gasly will catch back up to that pack. So still, don't leave us, guys. Plenty of battles still coming in the final 5 laps of this Grand Prix. I'm sure, though, Sainz will be probably asking Ferrari for a move past Leclerc because he is closer to Leclerc than Leclerc is to Hamilton ahead. As we're now on lap 59 out of 63. What can Hamilton do now? Surely he will get the move done. I can't imagine Norris will hold on this long to this position. Gets DRS again, does Lewis Hamilton. Can he get the move done? Down into Tamburello. Round the outside. No, he doesn't. Great defense by Lando. He's getting a great exit, and he was, compared to Leclerc, off of second Ravazza. If he was to beat Hamilton, this would be a phenomenal drive by Lando Norris in a car that is quick, but it's not as quick as the Mercedes-Benz. And what a drive this would be on tyres that are surely in a worse state now than Hamilton's tyres, as Stroll is right behind Ricciardo again, but not close enough to an overtake. And still, a 4-way scrap for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Plenty of battles going on, and nowhere near done yet is this Grand Prix, as Hamilton looking close enough here. And really for Norris, it's all, if he's going to maintain this position, it's all got to be about the release he gets off of the second Ravazza. That's the only hope he can have to keep ahead of Hamilton. But I think Hamilton is closer on this lap. Yeah, he is, than he was the lap before. So it's going to be pretty hard now for Lando to maintain position. Here comes Lewis Hamilton on lap 60 out of 63. Hamilton will go round the outside. And Lewis Hamilton is up to second place. And he has, maybe until there's a possible penalty or investigation into reversing on track. To be fair, we haven't even seen an investigation into that from the stewards. But he has, despite his troubles today, performed quite the heroic act to salvage some points. Meaning that Verstappen will only go into the lead of the championship at the moment by a single point rather than a few points. As a replay, Hamilton passing Norris. Lando did well to hold on, to be honest, for the couple of laps before. So pretty good there from Lando Norris anyway. And now the battles recommence for Norris versus the two Ferraris for 3rd, 4th and 5th. And obviously we've still got a battle for 6th, 7th and 8th between Ricciardo, Stroll and Gasly. And still 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th as well. And Yuki Tsunoda, despite corner cutting everywhere, is catching that battle as well. As at the minute, Max Verstappen is going to the top of the championship. Well, I say that, Hamilton has now got a fastest lap point, which would keep him top by a point if that was to end like that. Just shows you how close it is between the two after just 2 races. Even though Verstappen is 20 seconds clear of Lewis Hamilton at the moment. And yeah. So yeah, Hamilton, as it stands, would be a point ahead of Verstappen at the end of this race, with Norris in 3rd, 17 points behind Hamilton in 3rd. As Norris, I think, will be able to hold on from McLaren Sainz. The Ferraris seem to have dropped off pace-wise. Hopefully for McLaren, they can hold on against Stroll as well, who is right behind Ricciardo now. We really should be watching that, to be honest. As Verstappen, I think, is about to put in a new fastest lap, isn't he? Has he? I don't think so, no. But the gap is 21 seconds between Verstappen and Hamilton. Yellow flag in Sector 2. Who's that for? No, now it's green again, so I don't know who that was. I'm trying to look down the timing screen to see who could have gone off track. Can't see who it could have been. Unless it's just a piece of debris. But we are now on the penultimate lap of the 2021 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix.
Chaz, all I'm going to say is Mazepin lost 11 seconds.
Oh, okay. Well, we never looked at that part of the order anyway, so that's probably why I couldn't see anything. And yeah, here we go. Is this something? Yeah, Nikita Mazepin. There you go. Been waiting all day to get that in, and there you go. And yeah, doing his duty, putting in a spin to entertain the 10 fans watching from their balconies as Verstappen exits the Ravazzas to start the final lap of the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix as Sebastian Vettel's on team radio, coming into the pits to retire. Yeah, he is retiring, isn't he? Yep. Sebastian Vettel out of the Grand Prix. He should finish in probably 15th place. So yeah, he is out of the race. But last lap, Nib, for Max Verstappen, how vital of a performance and a win is this for the championship, do you think?
A massive, massive performance by Verstappen. And of course, Portimao is up next, and I think that's also going to suit Red Bull's car pretty well. They really do seem to like these fast corners. And, Portimao is absolutely full of fast corners. So we're seeing with MotoGP being there this weekend. It's been a superb drive by Max Verstappen. He's only made one mistake. The whole entire race. A brilliant start to get the lead of the Grand Prix. And Max Verstappen he's coming towards the Ravazzas.
He absolutely is, through Ravazza 1 and now through Ravazza 2. If he is going to be in the championship battle, then one emphatic victory this is for Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen and Red Bull, for the first time ever, win the 2021 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix here at Imola. Great victory for himself. Lewis Hamilton will finish in second and get the fastest lap point, so he still will lead the championship by just 1 point. Will Lewis Hamilton. Lando Norris, though, comes home to finish in third place. What a drive in the McLaren. Leclerc fourth, Carlos Sainz in fifth. Great result for Ferrari, 22 points. It's exactly what they needed. And Ricciardo should finish in sixth place at a Stroll, Gasly, and then it'll be Raikkonen ninth. Ocon 10th to get the final points, so Alpine do get off the mark, but they're still behind all of the other midfield teams, except, of course, Williams and Haas. But there you go. Max Verstappen wins at Imola. And if Red Bull can maintain the pace they have over the course of the season that they've had so far so far in the first two races, then surely we can get a championship fight if Max Verstappen is on that kind of form that he was today. But there you go, guys. Race over. The Grand Prix is over, and it is again Max Verstappen winning from Hamilton second by exactly 22 seconds. Lando Norris third, Leclerc fourth, Sainz fifth, Ricciardo sixth, Stroll seventh, Gasly eighth, Raikkonen ninth, Ocon 10th, Alonso 11th, Perez 12th, Tsunoda 13th, Giovinazzi 14th, Vettel retired, but he's still classified because there's still enough of the race had gone. So Vettel 15th, and then the two Haas 16th and 17th, and then your retirements. Bottas, Russell, and Latifi. So there you go. After, 2 full hours since we started the Grand Prix, it is finally over. And what a race. I mean, the second half of the race, it fizzled out because of the dry conditions. But, yeah, just what a first half of the Grand Prix that was. That was truly superb. And yeah, for driver of the day, personally, I'd have to go for Lando Norris because I thought his performance today was just absolutely brilliant here at Imola. And then Max Verstappen, of course, he was great as well. But yeah, out of 10, Nib, how would you rate the race? Again, the first half of the race I thought was really good, and then fizzled out later on. But what would you give it out of 10?
Oh, I honestly don't know how to view that race because, yeah, it did get a little bit boring. I wouldn't say boring, but yeah, it fizzled out, as you said, towards the end. It certainly did. I can't remember what I rated the Bahrain Grand Prix. I think that would probably help me gauge it.
I think that one you had like a 9 or something.
No. I think I put an 8.5.
Okay, 8 then. There you go.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm going to go for an 8. Yeah, it was 7.5. Just because after the red flag, it was not the best race.
No, you're right. I'd probably go for a 7. The first half of the race was brilliant. Second half, again, fizzled out. So I'd probably go for about 7. Then the thing that maybe ruined the action at the end, not necessarily because it's hard to overtake at Imola. I think it was the DRS being so powerful that was that really didn't help the Hamilton progress of the field being massively interesting. So, but there you go. Hopefully, in Portimao it won't be as bad as it was last year in Portugal. We can always hope that. But right, let me just read through some of the chat quick. By the way, thank you guys so much for watching the stream. Really do appreciate it. And hopefully you did enjoy our commentary and enjoy our coverage. And again, don't forget to subscribe as we're doing watch-alongs for every qualifying race remaining in 2021. And F1 just saying, yep, great win for Verstappen. F1 very happy for Lando Norris. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to find... Let me see if I can find it. Thank you. I'm going to finish off with this. A donation from Still I Rise, 4485 for $4.99. Yeah, thank you very much for that. He's just put some emojis as his super chat. But thank you very much for that, mate. I really do appreciate it. Again, appreciate you guys massively coming along to the stream, tuning in, and hopefully you did enjoy it. But Nib, thank you very much again, mate, for coming on for this 2-hour Grand Prix. And yeah, we'll see you for the Portuguese Grand Prix, which I'm sure will be another very intriguing, close race.
Yep, thanks very much, mate. It was very enjoyable to be on once again, commentating with you for this race watch along. And indeed, we'll see you guys once again for Portugal.
Absolutely. And guys, don't forget as well that I will be live tomorrow evening for a race review at 7 p.m. UK time. So don't forget as well to subscribe and hit your notifications bell for that video coming out or being live tomorrow on the channel. And then, of course, Portugal would do all the same again. Again, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notifications bell. Don't forget to smash the like button. Don't forget as well to share this video everywhere you can. Don't forget to join our Discord server, link below in the description. Almost 500 people on that server, and we have plenty of F1 chat in there, plenty of people in there as well, as I just told you. And as well, that's a great place to be notified as to when I go live and videos being uploaded. So if you want notifications in a better way than just the normal YouTube site, then that's a great place for you. As well, if you want to send an email for any reason, there's my email address down below, chazzahdf1@gmail.com. And until, my race review tomorrow night, 7 p.m. UK time, where we'll go over all the teams, all the data, all the incidents, absolutely everything. So we've covered it all. Until that stream tomorrow night, guys, at 7 p.m. UK time, it has been me, ChazzaHD. Goodbye.